What's happening, people? How's it going tonight? Didn't really have a whole lot of projects that were available to talk today, so I figured I'd get on and talk about mine a little bit with you guys. Thanks a lot for being here. Hello, Jack. Hello, John Rupp. Everybody else that's here that I can't see that popped up, I appreciate you being here. I did want to say this did come today, so I will be doing the review for it on Saturday, and it came packed like Fort Knox. So definitely have good things to say about the way they packed it and the way it was packaged and the way they shipped it. There was no way this book was getting damaged, but I didn't have a chance to read it today because I was busy. So we will definitely be reviewing that on Saturday. Also, last Saturday, I forgot to talk about Space Oddities on the Blue Balls review show. So kind of to start out with the Blue Balls 2.5. You guys definitely need to check it out. I'm gonna pop the link in there. It's funny. Like, I got the preview for it. I had a good laugh. It's kind of like a space pulp book like mine, only theirs is more of like a detective style, and like they said in the interview. If you guys missed it last week, it's like an Indiana Jones style book. You got, or a Sherlock Holmes, but only he makes stupid decisions and does stupid things and gets himself in a world of trouble. But I have to say, I read the first, I think it was like the first 12 or 15, 16 pages, something like that. I don't know. And some of the colored art for it, and it looks amazing. It's a lot of fun. I think like their cheapest tier is like $10. I'm pulling it up now. I was trying to do that while the video was playing, but I had other stuff going on. And I guess we'll do a live reading of the book. I figured that would be kind of fun to do if people wanted to go back and watch it. The link to read the prologue and the first two chapters of the book is available on the Kickstarter. After the first intro, there'll be a Dropbox link there. I did add that in. And it's also, I put it on my website, or not on my website, but on my personal page. I'll definitely be sharing it out again for those of you, anybody that wants to read the first couple chapters of the book and see what it's like. So let me grab this link off of here real quick, and we'll get started. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, Jack, always stirring up trouble. What are we going to do with you? All right, cool. We got the link embedded. So the link for... Oh, yeah, just go ahead and crash on me. That's not what I wanted you to do. Hold on a second. I accidentally loaded the tab into the StreamYard tab and refreshed the screen. So let me get back in here real quick. And then we'll get started with the live read. So how is everyone tonight? Jack, I see you in here. All right, we're back. Cool. We're going to pop that link in there for Space Oddities. And like I said, their campaign has exactly 48 hours to go from right now. So it'll be ending soon. Actually, I can probably bring it up on here and talk about it just for a quick second. We won't stay on it for too long because I know you guys are here for the fun stuff. Chrome tab. Close. So here's the Space Oddities Kickstarter. They got 48 hours to go. They're, let's see, go away tab. I can't see anything. So they have like a $5 digital tier and, yeah, a $10 printed copy. I thought they had like a $10 tier. So I think their next stretch goal is like $5,500, and it goes for perfect binding. So it won't be a stapled copy. It'll actually be a perfect bound copy like a normal book. So that'd definitely be pretty cool. And like I said, the book's hilarious. If anybody wants the link, I can share with you the preview to the book. It was something that they did. I'm sure they won't mind me sharing it out because I'll definitely ask John first and make sure. But it's like the preview that they handed out that they had previously printed for everybody. These are some of the uncolored innards of it. And here's Dirk, which is the guy that makes really bad decisions. And it's pretty funny. And his trusty sidekick, Jorge. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Definitely check it out. I'm gonna drop the link in there real quick, and we'll get on to the good business. I'm like that rash you have that you don't want to talk about that just keeps coming back for more. I'm telling you, man. I was kind of happy that the intro video actually worked. I made that like I want to say 6 months ago, and the first time I aired it, it got me the copyright strike because the music in it supposedly somehow they picked up something that was somebody else's, and I'm like, no, that's mine. I own it. I created it using software that strictly states anything that I make out of this app, it belongs to me. And I had to fight them, and that was during when CB Zane and Wendy had that. They had Scorpiana and Naughty Fairies 4 and Lily the Demoness Chapter 4 and all that was going on. And I had them on the show that morning. I got a copyright strike. So that's why I had such issues on that show. So that was definitely interesting. So, yeah. But I'm bringing up the reading part of the book right now. What's going on, Smithers? Thanks for joining, buddy. See if I could share this intro to the book. You guys can kind of follow. Yeah, we won't do that. You guys want to see the funny faces I make when I read it, so. Oh, that's going to have to be zoomed. That is really tiny. Oop. Go away. Go away. Thank you. Zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. Give me a second here to zoom in because it's like really tiny on the screen. I can't even read that. All right, so let's get started. We got Xenonanite Titan. Go away. There we go. Sorry about that. Dropbox is trying to bring up all kinds of links on my account. So we got the Xenonanite Titan Kickstarter book intro. This is the introduction to the book and the first two chapters leading up to a huge cliffhanger where the book will continue on. The end of the book ends in pretty much the same way. It's going to have a huge cliffhanger. It was kind of on purpose to do it like that because I wanted people to be excited about book two. But if I would have went a little further with the story, it would have ruined the starting point for book two, and I would have had to end up making it like 500 pages just to be able to end on a good point where book two would start out at. So I just cut it off where I did. Chuck can't see his own comments, and he's asking his wife to tell him if any good comments come up. Jack. So here we go, everybody. My first time doing a live reading. This should be interesting. And we'll make sound effects too. You know, when there's explosions, we'll do the shakes and everything. You know, why not? It'll be fun. It was a cold day in February for scientist Raziel Stevens. He stood at the door hugging his family goodbye, something that seemed normal for the last 2 years of his career, always leaving on assignment. You guys want me to put the words up with it, or do you want me to just read it to you? It's up to you. I'll leave it to you. Before I get any further into the book, do you want me to bring it up so you can see as I read along, or... Gotta wait for the delay. I don't know if you guys want me full screen or not, or if you want to see it as I read it. It's up to you, totally. Dealer's choice. Don't do that to me, Jack. All right, fine. We'll do it like this so you can all see my ugly mug as I make funny faces as I'm reading it. So we'll start over since we're not that far in. So it was a cold day in February for scientist Raziel Stevens. He stood at the door hugging his family goodbye, something that seemed normal for the last 2 years of his career, always leaving on assignment. This time would be different, though, he hoped as he walked to the cab. This could be the breakthrough he'd been waiting for way too long. His wife and kids watched sullenly as he walked out the door, saddened that he would be leaving again after such a short time home. Allison yelled out to him amongst the sobbing of their children. "We'll see you in a month, babe. Be safe." Working for the Space Combat Authority has taken a toll on my life, he pondered as the cab slowly pulled away. Hopefully I can make a difference this time and be able to call it quits. It wasn't always a big operation at the SCA until contact had been made from deep space. The transmission had been picked up by the U.S. government, and little had been deciphered after the first few days. Was it just a fluke signal? Or was it other life really out there? The project had consumed his life for a couple of years now. Hopefully we can add the finishing touches and I can retire with the family for a bit. Maybe the signal will prove to be that of a dying star or something unimportant, something we won't have to fear. We're here, the cab driver bellowed, waking him from his thoughts. They had arrived at the base of operations for all ingoing and outgoing craft for the space station Hermes. Thanks for the lift. I'll see you again in a month if everything goes according to plan, Raziel replied. Walking to the shuttle base, his mind continued to race, hoping that this would be the end of his assignment and that life really didn't exist out there. All personnel arriving for departure to Space Station Hermes, please report to Shuttle Bay 9, a voice boomed over the loudspeaker. I guess that's me, he muttered to himself. As he arrived at the shuttle, he heard the drone of the flight attendant calling out names. Raziel Stevens! Has anyone seen Stevens? Here, he replied. Sorry I'm late. Well, it's about time. We've been waiting on you as usual. She snorted. Sorry, that's the best female voice I can do. So you guys are going to have to deal with it. Well, it's about time. We've been waiting on you as usual, she snorted. The craft is ready for departure, and we couldn't leave without the chief project manager. Stow away your stuff and get buckled in. We're ready to leave. He threw his bags into the overhead compartment and got buckled in. Thanks for joining us, Raziel. We were starting to think you wouldn't make it, a familiar voice called out. Well, hello, Davis. You know me, always right on time, Raziel said jokingly. The crew laughed as the impulse thrusters kicked in and the ship began to leave its dock. Something felt different this time. An instinct deep in their stomachs that they just couldn't explain. The weight of the project pushing down on him and his crew. It was only a matter of time before the government was able to find the source of the signal and decipher it. What this project could mean and the difference it would make in all the lives of the people back on Earth. Life-changing operations done at ease, eradication of illnesses, and the ability to cure diseases. The laughter of the crew died out as the ship ascended, the Earth growing smaller until it was only a speck in the darkness. The whine of the impulse engine soon withered out as they prepared to engage the warp drives. Please make sure everything is secure in the passenger area. We're preparing to enter warp, the captain's voice boomed over the intercom. All they could think about was their families as the ship core began to whine, and the countdown began. As the ship entered warp, the descent into darkness began. So, the intro to the book, this part of the book, I wanted to touch base on a little bit of the reason why I added the prologue and didn't just start out the book is I wanted to give you a little bit of background of what, his family. First of all, you're not just starting out in the book and you got this guy on the space station working on this project for some unknown crazy uh, technology that he's working on. You don't have a glimpse of his family. You don't have a glimpse of anything. You're just like, boom, you're with this guy on a space station. I didn't feel comfortable with starting out at that point. So I went on and I was like, all right, I'll do an introduction. I'll do a prologue. I'll go in there and I'll explain, Allison, and then you've got Robert and you got Natalie, which are his two kids, and you don't get their names right at the beginning of the book. You just know that he has kids. And, Allison cries out to him and says, see you later. This is just kind of give you an intro where we're at in the book. So he was on leave. He was at home. He just got back from being on assignment, working on the space station. And he's like, hey, I got to go back to work again. I'm getting called in. They got the signal. We don't know what it is. It could just be nothing. It could be a bad signal, a radio signal from a star. It could be anything. It could have just been interference from the sun. And, the project they're working on is really super important. They're trying to develop a nanotechnology that is for internal use. So the nanite technology would be able to, do operations with ease and, be able to cure illnesses like COVID-19, the flu, measles, mumps, smallpox, the bubonic plague, anything like that we've had throughout the years. This would be able to eradicate that in its tracks, and we wouldn't have a problem with it anymore. Because this book kind of takes place about 6 years after the introduction of COVID. So that was part of what the rewrite went through. So people ask what the rewrite is, and that's part of what this session's about, is talking about the book and, what I rewrote and what parts of the book originally didn't exist. Well, of course, COVID-19 didn't exist in the book because I wrote the book 10 years ago. I felt it added a layer to the book to make it more relatable just because it sucks. And this is kind of like an escapism for people as they read the book. You got this freaking illness that's going on. You can't get out of your house. You can't go visit people. You can't even have Thanksgiving with your family. So this was kind of like an escapism to add this in here and say, hey, look, this really sucks, but we're developing a technology that'll make it to where you don't have to worry about this shit. And so in your mind, you can play out in your life as, hey, this will be awesome. Things can go back to the way they were, and you can imagine what life would be like if something like this actually existed and we didn't have to worry about the flu. We didn't have to worry about RSV and all this other stuff out there. And so originally when I wrote the book, it had in there about illnesses and sicknesses, and of course, heart surgeries. That was something that was big to me too. Using the nanotechnology would be able to do heart surgeries without opening somebody up. It could correct any problems with the heart. People that have to have cardiac caths. It could do surgeries at ease for anything like that. People with failing kidneys, it could repair their kidneys. People with failing livers, it could repair their livers. I was like, that was kind of my mindset of introducing the technology. This was never meant to be a military application. Everything that is usually meant for civilian application always ends up being pushed to, hey, let's make a military machine out of this. And so that's kind of where the book starts off. It gives you the direction of, he's working on this project. So as we delve into chapter 1, you'll start to hear a little bit about the technology as he works on it. And it's kind of one of those things that, no, I'm not viewing both shows. What's going on, Niobe? Or Larry? Thanks for joining. Sorry, I dropped my phone. So it was kind of like something that I wanted to, visit both layers. I wanted to show that this was never meant to be a military application, and how it grew into be a military application, and why it was pushed in that direction. And the fact that it really wasn't that hard of a thing to turn into a military application. So it gives you that sense of, in your own mind, you can interpret it as the government always, or the SCA, so to speak, uh, always had it in their mind down the road they were going to make this a military application. This was just a great reason, because this unknown signal they received, to go ahead and push the envelope with it. Or, you could interpret it as, it just so happens, hey, we've got this technology that would work good to do this, and it was created. It's not something that I'm going to tell you that this is the way it is. It's something I wanted the readers to form on their own. So you have the information from the get-go to tell you, hey, he's working on this project. It's not meant for combat use, and it was meant, to help heal sicknesses, heal illnesses, surgeries, medications, all that shit that we pay millions of dollars for every year that our insurance doesn't cover, that they're supposed to cover, like $100 insulin that people can't afford to buy. I wanted this to be like, hey, it would be so great if we lived in a time that was actually like this. We had a technology that would allow this to happen. Hey, this is really awesome. This is a great concept. And so that was where I originally went with this. And then, like I said, COVID-19 happened, and I was like, I'm releasing it at this time when all of this is going on. It would be stupid not to add it in there and make it kind of part of it. And I can also, in the interaction between Raziel and his wife and kids and their experiences over the last 6 years, I can include, things that they haven't been able to do because of COVID-19, because they're experiences that our family experienced. So, I thought that was a necessary rewrite, and so that's why COVID-19 was introduced into the book. Of course, in the introduction, I didn't mention it, but I just wanted to say later on when I do bring up COVID, that's why that was part of the major rewrite in the first part of the story. And then the second major rewrite happened exactly after where this introduction that you all are have access to on the Kickstarter to read. That's where a complete rewrite happened from there on. So that's why when I say I'm writing book two is already written. A lot of people are like, well, he says the book's already wrote, but he's writing book 2. So I rewrote a huge majority of book one. Included new stuff, added stuff that's happened over the last 5 years, used the emotion from that to push things through the book and make it more relatable, make the characters more relatable, and the struggles more real. And so, because of that massive rewrite, book 2 and 3 still exist, but there's a lot of rewriting that's going to have to happen. So, I do know how the story is going to play out, but I'm going to have to add in these new things that happen in here. This is the way. That's right. This is the way, Jack. Come on. So, I just thought it'd be fun to sit here and read this. I know probably most people won't go watch it or go back and watch it, which I'm totally fine with. But for those of you that are here and that are interested and that are hanging out, I appreciate you being here. I know some people are busy; they may go back and rewatch this, and I appreciate you too. So this is just kind of like Q&A. If you guys have any questions about anything about the book that I read, once I finish the chapter, I'll chop it up and tell you a little bit about reasons why and why the things they are, like I did with the intro. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, with the exception of anything after chapter 2. I will not answer any of that. You'll have to read the book to find that out. So I will continue on. So here we are. We're on chapter 1. So it's only about 29 pages. So it'd probably take me maybe 15 minutes to read each part of the chapter, talk about it. So we might be on for like an hour. Just BS about random crazy stuff. So, whatever, it is what it is. So, we're going to get started back on chapter 1 here. I awoke to the sound of the ship shaking violently as the warp drive disengaged and the impulse engines kicked back in. We had begun our entry into the space station docks. This is something that shouldn't have happened for another 2 months, but with the signal, everyone's leave had been revoked. Everything has been kept secret from us for the most part, but it must be important for them to have to call us all back. Davis, Clayton, have either of you caught wind of what exactly is going on here? Raziel asked. Nothing other than the signal being intercepted, replied Clayton. It's a shame, too, because I'd really been looking forward to some downtime with the family. It better be worth our time and not a joke like the last time the SCA got their panties in the wad, Davis chimed in. My honey-do list is growing bigger by the hour, and I'm already way behind. She's not too keen on me being gone again on assignment so soon. At this rate, I'll be divorced in no time. We'd had fallbacks on our research the last time we were aboard the Hermes. Resources have become scarce, and plagues have ravaged the Earth. We've been developing a nanite that can be distributed to the public to help curb the plagues and improve the well-being of the planet by minimizing medical waste. It would also replace the need for doctors and surgeries. On our last 3-month deployment, we had run into trouble trying to give the nanites a power source that wouldn't drain too quickly. The batteries were also defective and seeped plasma into the bloodstream. It's nearly impossible to design a power source small enough to power a machine with the capabilities it has and be able to last indefinitely. We've come so far only to fall short in the end. We'd spent so much time on the project, and it was hopeless if we can't find a suitable power source. Docking Bay 7, please prepare for our arrival. We're about 5 minutes out, the captain called out. Out the window, Hermes loomed closer, and the planet Neptune could be seen in the background. When we first started the project, we had been stationed at a base on the moon, but our project was deemed highly classified, and we were relocated to Hermes. This was to prevent anyone from smuggling our research and attacks from happening. The SEA had had several enemies over the years, and this project stood to make them a lot of money. We are in it for the people, but we know they will only use it for monetary gain. Unfortunately, this is the necessary evil, as they're the only company with the resources to pull it off. And as a corporate entity, we all knew it was inevitable that they would want to use it for military applications. Shuttle 9, you are clear to land in Docking Bay 7. I repeat, Shuttle 9, you are clear to land in Docking Bay 7. The radio boomed out. All right, crew, we're coming in for a landing, barked the captain. The shuttle landed, and we grabbed our gear to head to the living quarters. We anxiously stowed away our belongings and prepared to head down to the briefing. Whatever it is that's going on must be important. Dozens of ships were inbound after we landed. I've never seen this many people called back from leave. Can you zoom in on your face? I've already spoiled some of the things after chapter 2. Well, I have spoiled some things, like Wyvernite, but All right, we'll zoom in a little bit just for you, Jack. It was quiet as we walked to the briefing room. You could hear the footsteps echo off the bustling corridor. Seems like everyone has a lot on their mind. We arrived at the room and took our seats. Surprisingly, we were the only ones there, which was odd. Usually the whole department team was there. Raziel, Clayton, Davis. I'm sure you're all wondering why you're here. These are wild times, as you may have heard, and we need your research now more than ever. We've decided to put more funding in your project not only for the sake of the public, but to develop a weaponized version as well, said R&D leader Sanderson. R&D is in research and development, in case anybody was wondering. We are aware of the shortcomings of the project involving the power source, and we've had a team working on the sidelines to develop a solution. What we need you to do is finish the programming on the civilian models and begin developing a more battle-capable nanite. We all know the government picked up a signal that was turned over to us to decipher. Oh, I got you. Yeah, you just want to make fun of my face. Just kidding. We all know the government picked up a signal that was turned over for us to decipher. This transmission seemed like a normal radio signal that was picked up from a star, but upon further inspection, we uncovered a message hidden deep within. The message basically states that these beings have discovered the existence of Earth and the human race. They use what we think are unmanned drones seeking out life elsewhere in the galaxy. This transmission is believed to have been relayed to the home planet that life and resources have been found on Earth. It is with this mindset that we believe it is in our best interest to move forward with the project, not only for the sake of the population, but to be able to destroy any possible threat that we may encounter. This is why you were all called back from your leave, and it is unknown that this is their intention, but it is better to be well prepared if that's the case. We need this project finished by the end of the month, no exceptions. If you feel that's not possible, then you need to make it known now so we can find someone else to make it possible. As of yesterday, the signal was tracked to a planet that within our warp technology, including the time since we intercepted it, they will be here in about 45 days. That is why time is of the essence. We need this finished in 30 days to allow a week for training and produce enough units. You have access to all the materials you need. Just send a list directly to me, and I can have it done. I can have it to you within a matter of hours. Any questions? Sanderson asked. I spoke up. Raziel. Are you sure this is really necessary? We don't know if this is really a message. Maybe we're jumping to the gun a little. The goal of this project was to help people, not to develop weapons. How can we be sure that if we weaponize this and build all the units needed, we'll even need to use them? Men, I understand that this sounds like to you, but understand we wouldn't push the agenda if we really didn't think we needed it. Plus, understand that it is our decision and our resources. Your job is to design it and test it, period. If that's going to be a problem, we can send you back home. If not, then I suggest you get your research station set up and ready to go immediately. Any more questions? We glanced at each other uneasily with what we'd just been told. I felt a chill run down my spine as I thought about what was just asked of us. I didn't sign up for this kind of project, and I'm sure as hell not comfortable with it. All I can think about is my wife and kids and what is in their best interests. All the families dealing with sickness and no medical help. What if that was my family? This can be a turning point for our planet to fix pollution and lack of resources. No, Steph isn't here, bud. What's going on? Hey, Lewis. Um, yeah, no, Steph isn't here. Steph's live with Chuck right now. Thanks for joining in, buddy. Um, excuse me. No, thanks for. He's live with Chuck. Chuck's doing his shows on Tuesdays at 8 too. So he is the first guest on there. So he probably won't be on here unless they get off of there early. Which he can go back and watch it and make fun of all my facial expressions. So it's all good. So it's just kind of a Q&A going over the prologue. And then going over chapter 1 and chapter 2, talking about a few of the things in there, why I did it the way I did, why, what my reasoning was for the rewrite with adding COVID-19 and stuff. And just basically a Q&A. I'm going to read chapter 1. And once we finish that, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to ask, and I'll add in, my 10 cents about it, some of the stuff that I left up for grabs for the reader, There's a lot of things I left open for interpretation. I didn't want to hand the reader, this is exactly what happened, and this is why this was done. I don't. Well, I like to give you the information you need to make the story make sense, but leave enough for you to imagine. What if, or why, or why did things happen the way they did? Excuse me. So, like I said, like Jack said, I've already ruined some of the stuff that happens after chapter 2, like with the lead up with Wyvernite and stuff like that. So, um, you know, it is what it is. But I will answer any questions about the prologue and chapter 1 and chapter 2 that anybody has. The reason why I did what I did, or things the way they are. Like I said, it's going to be like probably 15, 20 minutes to read it. We'll just chapter 1, we'll sit and talk about it for 10 minutes or however long you guys want to talk about it. Then we'll do chapter 2 and do the same thing. BS for a few minutes and have a good time, and then call it a night. But thanks a lot for joining. I appreciate it. So we'll get back to where we were. So we just left off with Sanderson reaming their ass, telling them, time is of the essence. If you don't want to do this project, then tough shit. Either do it or we'll find somebody else to do it. So Raziel Stevens being who he is, he works on something. He wants to work on it till the end. He's fully invested in it. And he's like, this really sucks, and I hate being under pressure. And now they're asking us to do exactly what I didn't want to do from the get go and militarize the project. I would rather be a part of it than have somebody else work on my work. He was I wouldn't want to say too proud of his work. He wanted to make sure it was done properly. And that's one of the things that I try to leave enough insinuation in the book that, hey, Raziel Stevens is proud of this project. It's not that he wants to brag about it and have all the gusto about, oh, I did this. It's he wanted to make sure it was done right. His family depended on this. Other families depended on this. And he looked at it as, how would he feel if he never finished this project and his family passed away? That's how all these other people that are depending on this project that they don't even know exists would be like. And he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want people to lose their family members or not to be able to have Thanksgivings together as a family or stuff like that. I mean, at this point, COVID's pretty much ravaged the earth because it's been 6 years. So, there's not a whole lot left. And the people that are left, they're like, hey, fuck this, we're going to stay inside. This is probably the best option at this point. So I'll go ahead and read on. So we glanced at each other. I just screen capped Lewis's comment and sent it to Carrie instead of Jack. So we glanced at each other uneasily with what we'd just been told. I felt a chill run down my spine as I thought about what was just asked of us. I didn't sign up for this kind of project, and I'm sure as hell not comfortable with it. All I can think about is my wife and kids and what's in their best interest. All the families dealing with sickness and no medical help. What if this was my family? This can be a turning point for our planet to fix pollution and the lack of resources. Even though we've been terraforming other planets, Earth is on the brink of being uninhabitable. How do I say no to my whole project and let someone else come in and bastardize what I've worked so hard to create? I can still achieve what I set out to do, but at what cost will militarizing my creation bring? Oh, that's fine, Jack. I'm not worried about it, buddy. I don't get upset about anything too much. Stevens, are you still with us? Barked Sanderson. Yes, sir. Sorry, I got lost in thought. I will cooperate as long as my colleagues are okay with it, Raziel replied. I'm in, cried Davis and Clayton. You spearheaded this project, and as long as you're in, so are we. Hey, is Christina here? Hey, Christina Haggerty. How are you tonight? We're reading the prologue in chapter 1 and talking about it. So you came in, you're like a page and a half, 2 pages in on chapter 1. Just doing a little Q&A. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And everybody else here. I've all talked to you all since then, though, so. I'm in, cried Davis and Clayton. You spearheaded this project, and as long as you're in, so are we, Raziel. You're dismissed then, gentlemen. Please remember this time is of the essence, said Sanderson. I expect you to begin immediately. The batteries will be delivered finished today. We left the briefing and headed towards the project center. Not a word was spoken. Not a word was spoken. We were in shock. It felt like miles as we walked to our stations. Our minds raced through all the scenarios that this could go wrong. And who was this outside source that brought in the batteries? We'd been on this project solely from the start and had been unaware that our work would be shared with someone else. How and who could they even share the schematics with and not worry about theft of the project? Bless you. Who would be held responsible for the family, or who would be held responsible for the failure of the batteries if they didn't work? We had designed the nanites to run on a variable charging system that collected solar power as well as any static charges that build up in the environment. So there's always available power source when not at home. How can we be sure the batteries will last if we didn't create them? Questions that would hopefully be answered in due time. Glad to hear that, Christina. Questions that would be hopefully be answered in due time. All I know is we have a small window of opportunity to make this happen, and we needed to make it count. Just finish the project and worry about the consequences later. So, guys, that was chapter one. Um, I guess we were way more on the few pages, and I forgot that this takes it up to 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So a page and a half is like 6 or 7 pages, and actually, we're on page 13. So it didn't feel like I read that much. So Jack. So chapter one's like an introduction of them leaving Earth. In the prologue, you find out, Raziel has a family. You find out, he's been called to off of his leave of absence after just returning from working on this project before. There was a signal that was intercepted. They're headed towards the Hermes. So chapter one explains a lot of when they get to Hermes, what's going on. So you've got research R&D leader Sanderson. He's like, look, we got the signal that came in. We ended up deciphering part of it. It's an alien being. We don't know what it is, who it is, where they're from. We kind of pinpointed a location that from where they are. The signal basically says we found life and resources. We don't know what they want, and for all we know, they could be headed here. So, this is the part where I left open, for interpretation of is the R&D leader Sanderson, research and development leader Sanderson, is he using the signal as a way to push the envelope for their prior intentions of always making this into a militarized project, or was this something that came about at the spur of the moment? And the reason why I leave it open for interpretation is throughout the trilogy, which initially was the 900-page book, you're going to find that out. You're going to find out a lot more of behind the scenes things that have happened. So this is more like the introductory of who everybody is at this point in the story. And book one, like I said, is going to be why the suit was created. Well, now you know why the suit was created. It was initially going to be an internal mechanism of nanites that were able to heal civilians. If you had kidney failure, heart failure, lung failure, liver failure, if you needed a heart operation, something that would be awesome, for our son not have to go in and get his chest split open and then break his ribs apart and go in and do all the stuff they got to do and then leave them open and then for a few days and wait for the swelling to go down and close them up. This was something that, hey, we inject you with these nanites, they last indefinitely. They can cure illnesses. They fight off viruses. They fight off the flu, bacteria. People won't be sick anymore. There won't be a need for medication or insurance. You don't have to spend $100 a month on diabetes insulin. You don't have to freaking buy allergy medicine because you're not going to be allergic to anything anymore because the nanites will take care of it. So this is kind of where the turning point of the book is of I've been working on this project, but now they're telling me I have to make a militarized version of it. And this is where I was saying, I didn't want Raziel to come off as I don't want somebody else working on this project because I want it to be me that makes this huge accomplishment. It's not how Raziel Stevens is. It's not how I am. And I wanted to reflect that in the character of, this guy cares about the people on the earth. He cares about his family. He cares about other families and the stuff that his families went through in his life. And so he doesn't really want to hand this off to somebody else and have him foobar the entire operation, and then all these people are like, yay, cool, we can get this cool new technological advancement that, like we can put it in our bodies and we won't get sick anymore. We can have Thanksgiving with our families and we can do all the stuff that we want to do and we don't have to worry about it anymore. And then all of a sudden everybody dies because, this guy was an idiot that finished the project. Raziel wanted to make sure that he started the project. He knew everything that needed to go into it and he wanted to finish it and make sure it was done right. So that his family and other families wouldn't have to suffer anymore. And it's like I said, it's at a point like 6 years after COVID was introduced. So the 6 years has passed. Yeah, did they come up with a vaccine? Maybe, but we have a vaccine for the flu. How many years do they get that right? Every year there's a different strain. There's multiple strains of COVID. So, I mean, we don't even know that even if they do these vaccines for COVID, if this is going to be a viable solution that will allow us for things to return back to normal. I mean, I got the flu shot last year. And in March, the first week of March, I came down with the flu. I couldn't even move. I was so sick. And, they tested me and it came back flu A. So it's like, if the flu vaccine, they can't even get that right, how do we know they're going to get the COVID vaccine right? So I went with that mindset of, this is why the project was so important to Raziel. His family has suffered for the last 6 years. Family functions are minimized, funerals are minimized. So everything like that is minimized. It's like you can't have people at a funeral. You can't have family members. Immediate family only. So if it's your kid, you can be there. Yeah, or if it's your parent, you can be there. And that's pretty much like close, direct relation only. And so, that's why this was important to Raziel, is because, they've suffered so much over, the span of 6 years with things that have happened. He wanted to make sure that following generations don't have to deal with that. And because, with all the people that are dying, you've got these bodies that are buried everywhere and, health supplies that are being used out the wazoo. So, there's a shortage of medical supplies. You've got all these people that are super ill in the hospital and, 6 years, I don't really go into depth of what other viruses have come up, but we don't know. COVID could mutate into another virus and do other things. We don't know anything. So all that's left open for interpretation as far as the virus goes of how we got from here to there. But that was one of the theories that I cooked up in my head. So from my standpoint, from the way I view the story, was COVID. This vaccine wasn't 100% accurate. Sorry, I'm reading all your comments, guys, because I got the book open on here, and for some reason I can't see the comments on here. I don't know why it's not. Oh, yeah, because I know why. I stopped taking flu shots. Yeah, only if you have to. Unfortunately, Russell has to. He's got his son. Yeah, I never got the flu shot. I never got the flu. Um, I up until 5 years ago was the first time I got the flu shot, and then the first year I got the flu shot, I got the flu. The second year I didn't. The third year I didn't. Last year I didn't. Well, no, yeah, I did. I guess at the beginning of the year I did. Yeah, in March. So, yeah, because Roderick just turned 5 in March. So this would have been, I guess it would have been the 5th year because I got it before the year before he was born. So it was 2014. Yeah, it was 2014 because he was born in March. So yeah, I mean, I never get the flu, and then 2 of the 5 shots that I've taken, I've gotten the flu. So it's really weird. But that was kind of the direction I wanted to take with the book was, and in my theory in my head was, this COVID vaccine isn't going to work because we can't even get the vaccine right for the flu. The flu's been around for freaking decades. And every year they're like, CDC's like, oh yeah, get your flu shot. You need to be protected. And then like 3 months later, it's, oh yeah, we fucked up. We did the wrong strain, so you all are going to get the flu anyway. So you got the shot for nothing. It's like, gee, thanks. So I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, we can have a COVID vaccine ready in 9 months, and it's going to be, it's going to knock this out of the park. It's like, dude, there's like 3 known strains at least that I know of that they've discovered with COVID-19, and it's like, how many more are there? And are you going to be able to vaccinate against all 3 of these? So I use that in the story to kind of say, hey, this shit didn't work. It exploded. The freaking Earth has been devastated from this, both humanity wise and resource wise. So, you got a shortage of supplies. You got, like I said, bodies buried everywhere. I mean, what do you do with that many people that are dying? You burn the bodies. And so, you've got these barren wastelands in some areas where these cities have died down because a major percentage of the population has died off. And so then, that's why, one of the other things that I tie back to, and I don't know that the first few chapters touch on this, and I don't mind talking about it, but, one of the throwbacks that I throw back to was back in May this year, whenever they sent SpaceX into space to link up with the International Space Station. So I used that as part of the book. I was like, that'd be really cool to include that in there because this is a major accomplishment. It was the first consumer-based rocket to go to space and be successful. So it's like, uh, this is where I used as a kickoff point in the book to kind of state this is how 6 years later we ended up, with space travel, why we have a space station that's uh, orbiting Hermes, over the span of 6 years, we made a lot of scientific advancements to escape the Earth and find somewhere else inhabitable and take a bunch of healthy people there and say, F COVID, we're just going to leave the planet. Screw you. You can have it. So, that was what kind of what the basis point I used of, why, where the space exploration started, on the consumer level. In May, SpaceX sent up the rocket and, it was successful and it was really awesome, it was really great. When I was a kid, I got to see the rockets go up. So it was really cool to sit with my kids and we watched for, 2 hours as they counted down everything and they fueled the craft up. And they're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to launch or not because of the weather. And then we get down to the last 10 minutes and like, all right, we're doing this. They said the weather window's open. And I'm like, that was a really cool, awesome, emotional moment because it took me back to when I was a kid and I pictured myself, when they watched it. So, that was something that I wanted to include in the book is, the launch in May, that it was really awesome. Yeah, exactly, Christine. It's constantly mutating. And now you got people that are getting reinfected with the virus. I mean, and I don't mean to talk about it, talk politics. I'm just, I know we could go on all day, but I just the only reason why I wanted to use it in the book is because it makes it more relatable, and it's like it's believable that this thing could be the doomsday weapon that causes the Earth to go into freaking dark ages again. We got vaccines that don't work, and this thing just keeps rapidly mutating and taking down people. So that's why I was used in the book. Does anybody have any questions about chapter 1 that I've read? Hey, Wendy, how are you doing? Start working on that nanotechnology that we all need. Dude, I'm telling you, I want to work on it just so we can have the badass explosions. I mean, that would be awesome. I just want the freaking weapon, That's one of the coolest creations, which we'll get to when we go through chapter 2, is the magnesium. You know, uh, I forgot what I was originally going to call it. And I'll talk about it on here because I don't have anybody else on. I don't want to like embarrass somebody else and, talk about crazy shit while they're on my show. But so I'm actively while I'm redoing this huge rewrite in the book. I rewrote it. I added in the COVID thing. I rewrote it and I added in some of the other stuff that I added in there. And I did a major rewrite after chapter 2 ends. All that got completely rewrote. So that's again, for the people that are just now joining. When you see that I say, "Hey, I wrote a 900-page book." And I'm writing book 2, and then you go, well, that's confusing as hell. If you already wrote the book, why are you writing book 2? Book 1 overwent a huge overhaul. So the story still follows point A to point C. There's just a lot of stuff that changed in book 1 that I'm going to have to go through and make changes in book 2 and book 3 and do complete rewrites of parts of the story because stuff has changed in book 1. And I think it's changed for the better. I think book 1 now is, I thought the book was badass when I first wrote it. Now it's even better, and that's why I'm so excited about releasing it now is because, I gave it time to sit like a fine wine and age. And so it went from being badass to it's freaking spectacular. I love the twists and turns and where this book ends up at. So, um, yeah, I would love the nanotechnology. So magnesium was one of the cool things to create. It's like, all right, I need to invent a new element. We don't have any metals on Earth that are capable of being superheated and they can cut through anything, but they're indestructible to anything but itself. And so that's why I created magnesium. And one of the other things that I looked up, and I wish I could think of it, I'll have to go through all my notes because I got like scribble pads of all the stuff where I made up, new things and recreated it. And I looked it up, and it was some guy's blog page, and it was like about bondage fetishes and like all this crazy shit. And I'm like, how in the fuck do you come up with this name for this blog? Like, this is like what the name of a metal would be, or like some kind of an element would be, and it's about bondage and all this other shit. I'm like, I'm totally not using this. I'm like, I love this element, and I loved it so much that I even erased it from my brain so I can never picture what it brought up before again on Google. And I was like, so that's how we end up with magnesium. I was like, I really like the sound of that. It sounds like magnesium, but it's got the magma element to it because it can be superheated, it can be altered, it can be programmable. They work the technology in with the nanites that they're built out of this metal, this magnesium, and so the nanites can take on a programming and they can superheat themselves to forge whatever Raziel needs or anybody that wears the suit needs. And the function of that was to give them the capability on the battlefield of saying, I don't need a projectile weapon. I need a close range combat weapon. An axe would fit me in this situation. A sword would fit me in this situation. Yada 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 yada. But this added the cool effect to it that it was superheated. It's always has like in all the art that the each one of the artists did, which we'll flash a couple of those up on here. Magmar plasma explosions. Yeah, you can tell those people that you had a lot to say. More exploding blue balls. We need more explosions. Yeah, that's right. You won't get to see the nanite explosions. It'll be too small. Thanks for joining in, Wendy. And so, that was where it came from. And we'll flash up. I know a lot of you guys have already seen the art, but I just can't say enough about it. So you got Ed Williams' piece, and everybody always asks, well, it looks like it's got flames on it. And it's like technically it does. You got this piece here with the double sided axe, and you've got Finney's piece with the magma sword, and that is not a piece out of the book. That's something I forgot to delete out of here. And then you've got Steph's piece, with the magma sword, and then you've got this with kind of like the scimitar style, and then you've got Wendy's piece, which of course is the only piece with him having the badass gun blasting shit and blowing it up with big explosions in the background. I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to one up this for book 2. And then, of course, you got the super sweet, sexy Xenonanite Titan sticker right here. Like, oh yeah, he's badass. And then, of course, you got CB Zane's piece where, you don't see any of the weapons because it's super an emotional piece. It's the very last piece in the book. It's a pretty big scene. And then you got Chris McJunkin's piece. And we'll flash up some of the, let's see, then we got Alfred's piece, which is, I ended up choosing for the cover because, not because I like the piece the most out of all of them. I don't want to say that. It fit the best with the title. So I took all of the pieces. I originally was going to leave it up to like the artists, have the artists each vote on a piece and come up with, other than their own, which piece they voted on the most. And I shot around a lot of ideas, and that's why it's so great to be an indie creator because you can do whatever you want to do in the end. And I started messing around with titles, and that's how I ended up coming up with The Fall Before the Rise, because this is the fall of Raziel Stevens and the rise of Xenonanite Titan. And I thought this is a fitting title for the book. This is a fitting title for book 1. I really like it. I think it's got a powerful uh, mood behind it, and it really sets what the story's about. This is the fall before the rise. What happens to this guy before he becomes a big hero or a big villain? We don't know at this point. We don't know if he's going to be the one that saves the Earth. We don't know if the Earth's even in trouble. And by the end of book 1, we still really don't know what's going on. But everything will be explained in due time. But I really ended up. Alfred did this piece. I love it. I love all the pieces, but his piece just happened to work the best with the title. I had all the room at the top, and it didn't really cut into his head because, I mean, Xenonanite Titan isn't exactly a short title. And then I had all the space at the bottom, and I didn't end up losing a lot of the art. And that was the problem I had if I used anybody else's. Um, it would take, of course, their piece wouldn't be on the inside of the book, and I didn't feel like it did their piece justice because it cut a lot of the bottom off and it cut a lot of the top off, and it just took away from the piece. So I did a lot of heavy thinking. I did a lot of mock-ups, and I'm like, no, 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 no. And then I pull Alfred's piece out. And I'm like, this just fits perfect. And the colors with the orange with the title, which I mean, the lettering and stuff on the title that you guys see on the mock-up that is on the Kickstarter isn't like the final thing because I have to go by what their uh, template is, and I've kind of been messing around with that. It's not the easiest thing to do. And I'm trying to find the lettering that I like in their letters. So that's the other thing. I have to use their letters. And that was the lettering that I like. So I'm going to try to find something close to it. But when I do the mock-up with their template, I can't actually do a mock-up of this is what the book is going to look like. It's just like front and back, and then you got the spine down the middle, and that's all you get. And basically, they print the proof whenever you send them the finished book and the with the art and the cover. Then they send you the proof, but you have to place the order first. So I can't get the proof without placing the order. So I had to do a mock-up without being able to get a proof until I pay for the order and all that stuff. Which I could probably talk to them and get a proof. I just don't really want to spend $100 for a proof and then end up sending them the files over all over again, and something going wrong and not getting another proof, and something being majorly screwed up with the book and being like, oh my gosh, what happened? So I forego the whole issue by just doing a mock-up. So this will be the art. That will be pretty much the layout of the title on there. It won't be exactly like that, but it'll be really, really close. So yeah, I think everything fell into place really well. It was just one of those things that he sent it to me, and then everybody that's watching, thank you so much for watching. I'll get to your comments in a minute. I do well. We'll show off even at Revis Fournier's piece real quick, and then we'll get to the other piece. And so this is going to be the bonus piece. So anybody that watches this back, you're getting a little sneak peek at something that hasn't been shown yet, but maybe one other time for like 5 seconds. This is going to be the metal trading card. This is April Grady Reyna. She did a sketch card for me. We talked for a little bit, and we talked about commissioning a sketch card, and I went ahead and pulled the trigger with it, and she did a phenomenal piece here. You got Raziel Stevens, Xenonanite Titan, yelling at the heavens with this sword stuck in the ground, just like F my life right now. This shit sucks. Pretty much the 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 whole deal with 2020. So let's see. The white before the flush. Get out of here, Lewis. When he's our piece, gets 4 exploding blue balls shot at the same time. Yeah. Well, that's just because it's that badass. And the 5th exploding blue ball is in the background, blowing shit up. That's why the tank's blowing up. You got the top flying off of it. I mean, for those of you that don't get a chance to, or that haven't looked at it really closely, I mean, that's one of the things I loved. We talked about, putting a car in there and drones and a tank and, like that, several different things. And she's like, well, I was going to put a car in there. I was like, I don't know, a tank really would be cool. And so she played around with it. And she ended up landing on the tank, which I was like, yes, because I think it looks awesome. But it's just really funny because not only, oh, here it is. Did she include the tank? But if you look, oh, damn it, it cut it off when I scanned it in. So over here on the where the top of the tank is, the actual in the art piece, the lid to the tank's flying off of it, and there's explosions coming out of the inside of the tank. So you got a tank and an explosion with explosions coming out of the tank with more explosions, and it was awesome. And that was such a great piece. I say it every time I talk about it. Wendy sends it over to me, and I'm like, she's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, I like it. I like the explosions, but I think it could use, a few more explosions." And Wendy's like, "Squee! I love explosions." I was like, "Me too. I used to do blasting for a living." I'm like, "I love blowing shit up." And she's like, "Oh, I could definitely add more explosions." I'm like, "Well, I don't want it to be too much trouble." She's like, "Oh no, I got this." And so it was like a day later, she sends it over. She's like, "What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Holy shit, this is shit blowing up everywhere." I'm like, "Yes, yes, yes, I love it." And so it's definitely an awesome piece. And we've already been joking around about book 2, how, it's just going to be all explosions, and you're just going to see the eyes poking through the explosion. It's going to be just one massive big explosion. So, it is what it is. There's an exploding tank in there if you can find it. Oh, yeah. We need more Tripod Kitty Yuri update. Such a great piece. The fact that the picture was made before the infamous show that you and Christina Russell did makes it that much more funny. Russell's like, explosions, more explosions. Can you add more explosions? Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. Yeah, she definitely added more explosions than everybody else. And see, that was a fun piece. That's what I mean, how I love how everything fell into place. So, when C.B. Zane and David Harrigan had the piece, they were the last 2 artists that had the piece that needed to be done for the book. And C.B. Zane was the first one out of the 2 that was like, "Hey, I'm ready to do the piece that you wanted to commission. What do you got for me?" And, instead of saying, "You're doing this piece, you're doing this piece, you're doing this piece," I'm like, "This is what's left. You can either do the piece where there's a huge battle going on between the Septibrute and Raziel, or we've got this scene here at the end of the book." And he's like, "Oh, I would rather do, this scene." And, that's why I think it turned out so good is, that was the mood that CB was in. And that was the choice that he made. And I let him have the creative freedom to say, "This is what I want to do. I want to do this emotional piece here." And I think it turned out phenomenal. And it was because he had his mind in it. It was what he wanted to do. It was what he felt he was going to do the best at. And so I gave him, the base art and his section of the story and told him kind of what I was looking for. And he ran with it, and it turned out awesome. And all the artists did a phenomenal job, by the way. That was the fun part about the book, was he giving each artist, like, other than Wendy, I might just draw Raziel Stevens and have shit blowing up behind him. I mean, that was pretty much that. Besides the base art, that's all that she got. And so it was really fun to send these artists their pieces to the book, like Evanette. Whenever Wyvernite comes into the story, she got to read that whole section of the story, so she could take inspiration not only for the Wyvernite and how they were going to be relatable to each other in the piece that she did, but also in the background. She was able to read, what the background looked like in the area that they were in and all that stuff. Always trust your artist. Yeah. And no, exactly. And that's what's so funny. Everybody, Steph's always talking about edits, and I was like, "Hey, Steph, I didn't have you edit anything. I was like, hey, you do it how you perceive how this works." And he did awesome. His had the free floating nanites, and I thought that was a really cool concept. Yeah, it's a problem with multiple personalities. You never know who's driving. Get out of my head. Raziel's going to be too cool for school walk with all the explosions happening around him in book 2. Yeah, you know it. Oh man. Yeah. So April's piece is awesome. There is another piece. I haven't showed it yet. I'll show it for all you people. Let me exit out of the video here, and you'll get a first glance at it. Nobody else has really seen this unless you watch the show that they are on. Give me just a second here. Boop. So that is the metal trading card. So April Grady Reyna, her pieces for the metal trading card. And this is the piece that was done for the metal bookmark. So once we hit the metal bookmark tier, this is the art that's going to be on it. The art will be included in the art book, whether we hit the metal bookmark tier or not. I mean, it is what it is. But the art will still be included in the art book. So the art book will be everything. It'll be any preliminary sketches that I came up with based on, when I started writing the book, and, now when I've re-edited the book and did all the creative changes that I've made to the book, it's going to contain all of those rough pencils, even if they're stick figure drawings. There's quite a few stick figure drawings. And when you guys see them, you're going to laugh. Like one of them, I think, was the most rude. it was one of the most rudimentary freaking stick figure drawings I've ever seen. Hold on, I'll find it for you guys. You guys are gonna love this. This is hilarious. Yeah, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh. You see Steph Pool and you're like, oh, yeah, his art sucks. I could use some improvement. But then when you're like, hey, this is what I want it to look like. So yeah, you'll get to see that stuff. You'll get to see, hey, this is how he's like, it wasn't something that it was like he needed like a super in-depth drawing. He's just like, what do you want the layout of the piece to be? I'm like, well, I'm just gonna draw you a quick stick figure sketch. And that's legitimately, it took me like 3 seconds to draw that up. I'm like, boop, here you go. Because we were in the middle of dinner, and how it is trying to feed a 4 and a 5-year-old. You don't. You watch them wear half of it and spend an hour playing. Yeah, they're gonna look really cool printed on metal. So I'm gonna try to get some mock-up pieces done. So sorry, I'm trying to get caught back up on the comments here. Why are we not sharing these? We need to share them around. I really wish comments would let you use GIFs. Yeah, they took that away, man. That's why you don't see me using GIFs anymore. I was like, damn it, I ruined it for everybody. So yeah, we will show them. I'm trying to work on. We've been doing crazy stuff around here. I got pain management again tomorrow and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to work on some of those. We'll get it shared out. I need to try to figure out a way to do a mock up of the metal trading card and then a mock up of the bookmark and all that. I just haven't really gotten around to it. I've been too busy trying to make funny memes for the. Oh man, don't tell me you're working on Vampirella. I literally almost cried the other day when Nancy Vasconcelos put that Vampirella sketch up for sale the other day. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, if I could afford that. It is freaking beautiful. Nancy does such awesome work. And so I get so sad. People don't understand, though, the sacrifices you make working on a project and all the money it takes going into it until you actually sit down and do it yourself and you're like, holy crap. And it's like, so like I've completely quit buying like pretty much everything, all books, all stuff like that. Going back on it again, though, I did get this today for the show Sunday for the cystic fibrosis book for Pathway versus the Gasp. I will be doing the review on that Saturday. Um, but yeah, I mean, art. I get on my Facebook and I see all this art, and I'm like, oh my God, how much money do I have? 53 cents. I wonder if they'll take that. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, no, no more, no more. I done said. Jack and I were talking about that this morning at like 1:30 this morning. I was like, man, I was like, dude, I've already decided I'm not doing another set of shots. So this last set that they went in through here, um, ever since I got them, I can hear grinding. Like when I move my neck, you can just hear it sounds like jagged rock on jagged rock and somebody snapping twigs. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So tomorrow when I go, I'm gonna be like, dude, I appreciate you doing, the shots. At first they were helping. And it's like the shot that I had, it'll be 2 weeks ago from tomorrow. Uh, since Saturday, my arm's back to being in an immense amount of pain. Like it started last Thursday. So like I'm like 5 days of misery off and on, again for the week after that. And I only get like a week of relief in my arm. It's not even worth it, And I've done 2 sets, so I would expect more than this from it. So I'm not doing it. Nope, not happening. Yes, Nancy is amazing. She does amazing work. That Vampirella, I was like in tears. I was like, and then I seen it had sold already, like 5 minutes after she posted it. So I was like, good. I wouldn't have been able to buy it anyway, so I can't be too sad about it. So yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to do mock-ups. I'll have to try to pull up some blank book metal bookmarks and try to merge that image. It's fine, Christine. That's why I keep shifting. I got another chair here. I got my legs out. I'm dealing with it. That's been the best thing about this year. I know 2020 has sucked for everybody, but finding out in January I might have cancer, and then the freaking the car wreck, and then COVID happened, and so I didn't get back in the doctor until June. And so, I went up until, September thinking I had cancer, and I'm, cranking on this book, doing the rewrites, making it as badass as it can be, because I'm like, I want it to be my magnum opus, because this will probably be the last thing I ever do. And then it's like, oh no, you don't have cancer. We were so uh, focused on the fact that you had this mass in your back that we failed to see all this stuff, that even though you had CT scans when you had the car wreck, which the pain management doctor's like, I don't know how they didn't see all this, because it's all soft tissue damage. It would have showed up in the CT. So obviously they either looked at somebody else's films or they're just stupid, which I'll go with the just stupid part, because it was Washington Hospital, and they don't have the best track record. We'll just leave it at that. So but all in all, I'll take being in pain and not having cancer. At least we're on a road of figuring something out. It just sucks because I'm out of options. The medication helps. The nerve sedatives they put me on help for the most part. And then I have days like last Saturday. I was so spaced out of my mind, like just not like drugged out of my mind. I don't want to say it like that. It's just I just am like, it's just like mental fog. Like I can't concentrate on anything. I'm like in another world, and it's not like it's just I'm just I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted to the point that I can't even remember what I was going to do 5 seconds ago. Like I'll get up to do something, and I'll be like, what did I get up for? And I'll sit there for like 30 minutes trying to remember what it was. And then like an hour later, I'll remember what it was. And by the time I get up, I forget again. And it was like that before they even started me on the medication. So I know it's not the medication doing it. Some boogity boogie on you with an egg and put some Vicks on it. You'll be all right. Yeah, the universe works in mysterious ways. Side note, Roasted Music, you suggested me last night. I listened to it. It's all amazing. I still can't believe I didn't know about it. Yeah, it is awesome. That is great. Yeah, and the mystery, that's what I've been saying the whole time. I'm like, it sucks, going for that long, believing that I had cancer and making this contingency plan, and doing something that I regretted not doing my whole life. And it's just like now I'm like, well, I don't have cancer, but at least it pushed me to do something that I've always wanted to do. So, that's what's so exciting about this. It's like I finished it, I did it, I did what I've always set out to do. I've always wanted to write since I was a kid. And then you get all the people telling you, go get a real job when you grow up, go do something that's going to allow you to have a family and a car and a house and all this stuff. And it's like, I haven't had a bunch of jobs over the last, going on 18 years, because I've been working since I was 13. But I can't say that all of them have ever really made me feel like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it's like sitting down and rewriting this book and putting this book out there, and talking with everybody about it, and being able to hopefully, next year when the cons open up, go to the con scene and get a table and sell my book, and have people come up to me and talk to me about that have read my book, or say, hey, I read your book, I loved it. Hey, I read your book, I fucking hated it. And be like, well, why? And then try to figure out from their perspective what they didn't like about the book, and see if it's something that either you're never going to write the books that I write, or is it something that I did wrong, or is it just we don't see eye to eye on it, and it's okay to have differing opinions, but either way, it's still fun to have those conversations and be able to talk about the universe and talk about your characters and talk about the things that they do. And it's like, I'm really excited about that. And, I'm really excited, to hear what people say about the book and the feedback, and the people, to tell other people, and have people be like, hey, so-and-so read your book and they said it was really good. And, they let me read part of it, and, I really want to get a copy of it, and it's just the feeling that people care about, this story in this world that you wrote, and, allowing them to be a part of it and enjoy that world with you. It's just like, it's, it's unexplainable, and it's a great feeling. It's really awesome. And I'm really excited too, because, with the rewrites and all that stuff, I can pretty much tailor the rest of the book to the story, and take it any direction that I want to go. Like if I end up saying down the road that, hey, I don't want this to happen, I want this to happen instead, I already have to rewrite book 2 and 3 pretty much as it sits, with the huge rewrites in book 1. So I'm like, pretty much I could still do anything I want in book 2 and book 3 because there's several large rewrites that take place over the bougie. Oh yeah, bougie. Yeah. So like I said, I'll take being in pain and being alive over having cancer any day. I'm just glad to be here. I was glad to be able to push the button and launch this project, and I'm excited to make this happen. I really hope we can kick this in the ass and get the signature tier unlocked and get everybody signatures and have this awesome nationwide tour. I'm freaking excited about getting the Xenonanite Titan tattoo live and having Christina Haggerty and Wendy 2.0. That is going to be a freaking off the chain video. Like video 1 was just insane. That was probably one of the craziest shows that we've ever done, and I think show 2 would just blow it out of the water, especially if we were all in the same room. So it'll be a fun time. So yeah, we'll talk about chapter 2 here real quick and talk about that for a little bit, and we'll see what questions you guys have about that. Does anybody else have any questions before we move on to the last 13 pages of the live reading? Yeah, it does, Jack. And that's a lot of why I shared the book with Wendy and, with my wife. Epic train wreck. I should know mercy while others get tattoos and I watch. It doesn't bother me, Wendy. I mean, I sat for a long time for this one that I got on my leg, and it doesn't. Tequila on your new tattoo to baptize it? No, I won't do that. And it's not because I don't want to deal with the pain. It's because that I respect the artwork too much to do something stupid and put something on a tattoo after it's been done. Like it gets gooped and it gets wrapped and it gets left alone for that hour that it's supposed to be left alone, and then you maintain it after that, and then that's how you end up with beautiful color and stuff. Like I got this one done. Maybe if I can pull my pant leg up. Like I got this one done 2 years ago. Hold on a second, guys. I gotta take it off the stand. So I got this one done 2 years ago. And you can see all the color still in it. Whoa. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, my wife, she said nobody wants to see my hairy legs. Everybody laughed at me because I had to shave my leg completely bald. And it was really funny because I never thought in a million years my wife would be mad at me for something so stupid. But she was totally pissed at me that when I shaved my leg for that tattoo, that my leg was smoother than hers when she shaves her legs. She's like, "How did you get your leg so smooth?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's the first time I've ever shaved my leg, and I'm sure as hell not doing it again." And then, of course, I had to shave it to get color. And then now, hopefully, I'll be shaving my other leg to get the other leg done. I'm throwing exploding blue balls around the shop. The owners like me. And Wendy's going to be eating a taco while that happens. Well, she has tattoo. So yeah, no, it'll be a blast. I really hope to do that. So we're gonna crank out chapter 2 here real quick. Answer any questions you find folks have about it. We'll show some art again for all the people joining in, possibly down the road and later on, or at another point. It's a shame they missed it because then they don't get to ask all the cool creator questions that they won't be able to be asked. And Wendy, we need to talk too. Now that you finally have finished the book a few weeks ago before launch, we need to talk about that rewrite that you were so adamant about. So you just let me know when you're not busy one day, and we can chat about it and have a fun conversation about it. So let me switch back over to the book here, and we will make quick work of this because we've only got 16 pages, 8.5 by 11. So I read pretty quick, so we'll be able to blast through it really well. Great. Now that's going to be the next stretch goal that I'm going to have to put. I'm going to have to get like exploding blue balls tattooed up here or something somewhere. I don't know. Maybe on this arm. I'll get it. Yeah, get exploding blue balls. Blue balls reviews tattooed on me. I can just see it now, all them wheels spinning out there. What did I do? What did I do? That sounds like Wendy's in trouble. No, she's not in trouble. That was one of the big things she asked me whenever I told her that I did a major, humongous rewrite. She was like, well, what was going to happen? I'm like, I can't tell you yet. Like, you have to read it first, and then I'll tell you. Because, like, it's... I can tell you, Jack, because you've read the book, too. So I'll tell you, if you're interested to know, how stupid the big hole in my story was. Like, and from the outside looking in, and other people reading it, like, nobody ever said anything. And then, like, one day I just sat down and I read it, and I was like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever read in my entire life. That is the biggest hole I've ever found. And I'm like, we're just going to cut all of this out of here. We're going to rewrite all of it and blame even at Revis Fournier. But it's a good blame. Blame her that she allowed me to make the book 1,000 times better than what it was. So thanks to her asking me a certain question, not that she had read the book, she was asked a certain question about, is there something that can be included in the art? And it made me sit and think, and that's how I ended up finding this when I was thinking and reading through, looking for something, and then I was like, wow, I need to change this, and then we're going to make this so even at Revis Fournier can include this badass thing in her book, in her art piece. So, onward to Chapter 2 we shall go. A week has gone by, and we've made a lot of progress. The batteries were delivered as promised, and we were functioning quite well. The materials were different from anything we'd ever seen. The elements had to have been found on another planet. Supposedly, they were developed at another station owned by the SCA while we were on leave, and that could be the only explanation as to why they were unable to craft what we needed, because we didn't have the available resources necessary. We're able to power We're able to power thousands of nanites off a single power cell with preliminary tests. We tweaked the system to operate off of what we're calling a nanogenerator. By doing this, we've minimized the amount of batteries a host will need to 1. This allows for less chance of contamination and power fluctuations. Today, we began trials on myself with 1,000 nanites to start out. So one of the questions that I had, Jack, I'll throw you under the bus with this one. So Jack asked me, it was really weird that a guy would have trials to run on himself. And so the reason why, again, going back to what we talked about before with the introduction in Chapter 1, the reason why Raziel does the initial trial on himself is they don't have time. They don't have people that they can clinically just like run the stuff on. And Raziel knows the technology better than anybody else. He designed it for the most part, and Davis and Clayton helped him build this design. They helped him tweak it. Each person had their own separate thing. One did weapons, one did like the programming, and Raziel pretty much did like the design and how it needed to be programmed and all this. And he trusts Clayton and Davis enough that they're going to do their part, and it's not going to screw them in the end. So they're out of time. They don't really have people that they can just be like, hey, we're going to test this on you and see if this works. The only person that really understands the technology to its fullest is Raziel. Clayton and Davis are big key contributors to the project. And that being said, they still don't fully understand what the nanites are capable of like Raziel does. So it's kind of like a catch-22, later on in the book, and I won't spoil anything about him and not really understanding the suit, because he does understand the suit better than anybody else, but it's one of those things where you get an engineer does something on paper, and it doesn't always pan out as easy on it when it's really done. And we do that all the time. We always throw engineers under the bus. We're like, it probably looked good on paper, but this is the stupidest thing that anybody ever thought of. And so, it's one thing to design something and write it down on paper and, hey, this is what this needs to do. And then it's another thing for it to be used in real world application or for that said engineer to use this technology. So it's not really him being prideful either. Again, like I said earlier, it's not him taking pride in the fact of, oh, I did this project, I'm going to be the end all be all with the project, and I'm going to see this to the end, and I'm going to take all the credit for it. It's mainly over Raziel is more sympathetic to the population of the Earth. Like I said earlier, he's sympathetic to the fact of how would he feel if his family passed away because he never finished this technology, just like somebody else's family passing away. And so it's one of those things where he feels in his character essence that it's necessary for him to do the trials on himself to not hurt anyone else. That, and I guess it's a testament to him believing in himself enough and believing in Clayton and Davis enough, and that as a team that they designed a product that he can utilize and that nothing's going to happen to him. And so it shows in a way that him using the technology and testing it on himself shows his trust in his team. The relationship between Clayton and Davis and himself of, I trust these guys. I trust everything they've done, all the programming they've done for this technology enough that I'm going to be the guinea pig. I know this product better than anybody else and how it's supposed to work. I want to be the one that it's used on, mainly because he trusts his team enough to be able to do that. And he also doesn't want anybody else, if something does go wrong, to get hurt because of what he's done, if that makes any sense. So I felt it was a good time, Jack, to touch on that. That was one of the questions that you had. I don't understand, you didn't understand then why Raziel would do something like that. And it's kind of like a flaw in his character as a person is he feels responsible to a point that he's going to use it on himself before he allows somebody else to test the project because he doesn't want something to happen to him. And like I said, he trusts his team. This was kind of one of the building blocks between, Clayton and Davis to show their relationship that, they grew up together. They had family barbecues together. These aren't just two guys that he randomly met at work and they're like, hey, we're going to build this project. Let's do it. He totally trusts these guys with his life. And so, when you get to this point in the book and it's like, I get, today we're going to try out 1,000 nanites in my body. He's saying that with all confidence that this is going to work and there's not going to be any problems just because he believes in Clayton and Davis enough and then in his team and that the relationship is that strong. On his chin? What? If you get it tattooed on your chin, you can call yourself Exploding Ball Chin Blue Ball Chinian. Yeah, so like I'm Men in Black, the Ball Chinians. Jesus. So there you go, Jack. I answered a question for you. It was kind of, it's been like a month and a half since we had that talk, but I answered your question eventually. So we'll continue reading. Sorry, I didn't mean to get derailed there. I just wanted to kind of explain that because that was one of the questions Jack had. So if anybody else had that question of, well, why would this guy test this technology on himself? And it's because he trusts in his team. He trusts in Clayton Davis. They're not just fly-by-night co-workers. They've had a relationship for several years, which you'll find out later on in this chapter. So let's see. So today we will begin trials on myself with 1,000 nanites to start. I guess it's time to get up and call the family before I head to the office, I muttered to myself. Hello? I heard Allison's voice over the speaker as the video connected. Hey, babe, how are things going? Good. We've made a few decent breakthroughs, but I can't talk about my work, I replied. I know. I'm just really hoping that you'll be home soon. The kids really miss you. Since Natalie is going to be starting kindergarten in the fall, she's really hoping you'll be home most of the summer. Robert's really excited about graduating kindergarten and wants you to be there for his party. Are you going to be home before summer's over? Allison, I really don't know how things are going to pan out. You know how these things go. When we make a breakthrough, there's always setbacks, and I'm working as hard as I can. I promise you that I will try to tie this up as soon as possible. Are the kids around? I'd like to say hi before I get back to it. I understand. Hold on. she replied, her voice wavering. Hi, Daddy, Robert and Natalie cried out. Daddy, I drew you a picture in school yesterday. I really hope you like it. See? Robert exclaimed. Yeah, buddy, that's beautiful. Is that us playing at the park with your sister? I chuckled out loud. Yeah, I really hope you'll be here for my kindergarten graduation and that we can spend lots of fun days at the park together. Mommy says you're working really hard and that you will try your hardest to be here. I know you have a lot of work to do and it's important, but I really miss you, he said in such a sad voice. I will do my best, I replied, choking up a bit. I love you, buddy. Can I talk to your sister now? I love you too, Daddy. Here's Sissy. Hi, Dada. You having fun at work? Natalie squeaked with her blonde curls bouncing around. Hi, sweetheart. Have you been helping Mommy with the housework and being a big girl for me? I hope you've been keeping your brother in line and not picking up any of his bad habits. No, Dada. I've been a good girl, and me help Mama with all the housework. Mama has been teaching me to fold laundry and put it away. I even did Bubba's laundry too. Aren't you proud of me? Of course I am, sweetheart. I am super proud of how big you're getting. Tell Mom and Bubba to get back on here so I can say goodbye. Okay, Dada, here they come. Bye, hun. Please be careful. Bye, Dada. Bye, Daddy. We love you bunches. They all replied in unison. Bye, guys. I love you too. Please know that even if though we're far apart, I love you guys so much, and I'll be as home. Bleh. I will be home as soon as possible. The feed cut off, and I sat in silence for a few minutes, optimistic that this will be quick and painless, hoping that everything will be okay and we can go back to our normal life. The alarm woke me from my thoughts, reminding me that I needed to head down and get started with the day's trials. Today marked such a big day as I walked to the research lab. As I entered, I noticed Clayton and Davis had already started early without me. Tension filled the room. Everyone knew today would be a benchmark on how our project was doing. We had performed several tests with the new power source and concluded that now is a good time to try human trials. Good morning, fellows, I stammered, startling them from their work. Good morning, Raziel, they shot back nervously. Sure you're ready for this? We can hold off trials for another week to tweak the design if you'd like, Davis pleaded. No, I'm sure about this. We don't have a lot of time left to create a weaponized version, so we need to start trials immediately. If we can't sustain compatibility with a host, there's no sense in moving forward with the project. Plus, this is my design. I should be the one to test it in case there's a problem. So once again, there we were. That exact statement right there is, the testament to Raziel's character. Him saying, "This is my design. I should be the one to test it in case there's a problem." That's what I mean by, he's empathetic towards everyone else and the people around him. He's a research scientist, but he doesn't believe in testing your stuff on other people if you don't believe in it, basically. Because it's crazy some of the shit we create as humans. We're like, oh, we're going to try out this brand new laundry detergent. Let's bring in 100 animals and test it on them. And it's like, if you're going to create something and you're going to test it, at least test it on something on yourself if you're that believing in it. And that's kind of the take that Raziel takes with things. It's like, this is my research. I believe in it. No one else should come to harm because of it. And I believe in my team. So once again, I just wanted to touch on it. That statement right there is kind of where I bring in that, it's not about him having pride. It's not about him being prideful about, hey, I'm some super genius that thought of this idea. It's just he wants to ensure that everybody Chuck show just ended. So yeah, I just wanted to touch base on that again. I mean, it's he believes in his stuff 100% and what he's trying to achieve. Silence fell over the team as we worked tediously to prepare for the test run. I keyed in the final calculations while Davis and Clayton prepped the nanite merging chamber. Everything was a go. There's no turning back now, I thought to myself. As I laid down on the table, I prayed for a smooth and painless transition. Being the first time we would inject machines into a living body, it was rather unnerving. The startup process seemed to take forever as the injector wound up preparing to inject the nanites into my body. I gave the nod, and as the needle pierced my skin, I can't fully describe what happened next. The feeling you get on the old CT scans we had back in the day with the metallic taste in your mouth and that warm feeling all over your body. The warm feeling turned into almost agonizing burn as the nanites began to fill my body. I let out as a scream as the burning reached excruciating levels, and that was the last thing I remember as the room faded to black. The light began to pierce my eyes as I opened them. Where am I? I tried to force out as I sat up, shaken and disturbed. Good morning, Raziel. You are in the sick bay. You experienced a traumatic reaction while undergoing the transfer of nanites to your body and blacked out. You'll be happy to know that we've scanned your body and repaired any abnormalities there were. We? Who the hell are you? I exclaimed loudly. There was no one else in the room. I scanned the room, frantically looking for the voice I heard, to no avail. It's not possible. Was it the nanites communicating with me? My mind began to race as I thought of how the nanites could have already evolved to communicate with the host. We had programmed them with the capability to evolve, but how could it happen so quickly? You would be correct, Raziel. We're communicating with you through your brainstem. We feel it is easier to transmit live data to you rather than doing a diagnostic from a computer screen. This way, this way we're able to give you real-time updates to your health condition, and we hope you're pleased with the outcome. It rattled on. I was astounded by the capabilities the nanites had learned in such a short time. Based on the date and time on the wall, the experiment had only happened 13 hours ago. Yes, I am pleased, I replied. I would be a little more at ease, though, if you would stop saying we. How about we come up with a name so it's not so creepy? It would comfort me a little more to not think about the thousands of you bouncing around inside me. I believe Axiom is a fitting name. Autonomous Xennial Interactive Operating Mechanism. Is that name okay with you? Yes, I replied. That has a nice ring to it. How are you holding up and what's your current operating status? I asked. All systems are operating at a full capacity. Charging systems, battery, diagnostics, medical, and external power output are all nominal. Axiom spouted off. It's amazing how fast the nanites were evolving, I thought to myself. It looks like the experiment was a success, but more tests need to be run to verify the compatibility with my body. We also need to verify the readings are correct and if the nanites can maintain power under full loads. All of a sudden, Davis and Clayton burst through the door, wide-eyed in shock. You're awake, they cried out in unison. How are you feeling? Are the nanites working? They both had so many questions, most of which I didn't have the answer to. I barely had time to gather my thoughts, much less gain my bearings. They continued to stare at me nervously as I smirked, and it took a minute to relish in our accomplishment. Well, don't keep us in suspense, Davis yelled out in a shaky voice. I think they seem to be working just fine. We definitely need to run more tests to determine sustainability and functionality, but everything seems to be working fine as it stands, I replied. You guys will never believe it, but the nanites have already figured out a way to communicate with me through my brainstem and has already named itself Axiom. According to Axiom, all systems are running nominally, and all damage to my body has been repaired. We need to get down to the lab right away and get a baseline done. I'm feeling well enough. We should go right away, I stammered. Everything seemed to be okay, but the truth is, we didn't know how stable the symbiosis would stay. And to be quite frank, I'm more excited to push the envelope and see what the technology is capable of. Most of all, we still had a long journey to try and bring the militarized aspect to the table. No matter what we had accomplished at this point, Sanderson wouldn't be pleased until we'd finished the whole project. Clayton spoke up. Let's get to it if you're up for it. Emotions were thick as we walked to the lab. Surprisingly, no one stopped us as we left the medical ward. We were speechless, excited to find out if we had really accomplished what we'd set out to do for so long. I sat down as scanning of my body began. It was a slow process that took about an hour to complete. Everything Axiom had said proved to be true. All power functions were nominal, and best of all, my body was in significantly better shape than before the experiment. All of my old scars had completely healed, chemical imbalances had leveled out, and even my brain activity was heightened. It showed that all bone densities were improved as well, reversing the age of my bones. As I ran over the data, Sanderson had entered the room and was quite frustrated. Apparently, he had been trying to get my attention for a while. Raziel, are you still with us or did you doze off? He shouted at the top of his lungs. Sorry, sir. I was just going over the data from the transfer and I was trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. This looks promising based on the data we've collected so far. All of my old wounds have completely healed and my body is in the best shape it's ever been. The nanites are holding at full charge, and tomorrow I think we can begin power tests to see how they withstand heavy use. If they test out okay, we'll begin development of the militarized nanites right away, I explained. That's good news. I was beginning to think you were going to have to bring in someone else to work on the project with the small amount of progress that's been made, he shot back. I expect you guys to have a fully functional project by the end of next week, and I also expect that you'll spare no expense. I need not remind you that we need full defensive and offensive capabilities. I nodded in agreement. What an arrogant prick, I thought to myself. Who the hell is he to tell me what I needed to do? I mean, what we've accomplished so far was mind-blowing, and this asshat comes in here like we just did some small feat. I shook my head as he walked out of the room, and Davis laughed at me. Dude, don't let him get to you. You know how it is, all business and no pleasure. Maybe he doesn't really appreciate what we've done, but when everyone gets this back on Earth, they will be really stoked, he exclaimed. It's not that, I explained. If he thinks he can just pass this off to another team and get better results, he's insane. We've done the best we can with what we have, and the least he could do is say thanks. It's not every day people accomplish what we've done, and it's not going to change the world as we know it. Oh my gosh. And it's going to change the world as we know it. My contact is coming loose on my eye here. Clayton chimed in. Brother, if you think for 1 second that what happened today was a small feat, you're wrong. I say we call it a day and go back to our quarters and have a celebration. To hell with Sanderson and the stick wedged up his ass. We've had enough excitement for one day and it's time to party. I nodded in agreement. This day had been a roller coaster. And to be honest, I wasn't in the mood to deal with any more research for today. We could begin power tests in the morning, but for now it was time to kick back and decompress the events of the day. I closed down the scan station while they shut down their terminals and packed them away. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Axiom spoke up, breaking my thoughts. Raziel, I have to say today was quite exciting, and what you have done will surely bring good to the earth. You may feel like it's a small step, but we will do great things together, I believe. I hope you're right, Axiom, I muttered softly as we walked back to the living quarters. There's a lot of people in need of this with the pandemic going on. That was part of the problem we've been working on for so long. A way to deal with the pandemics after the outbreak of COVID-19 that had started 6 years ago. Economies fell, people lost their jobs and homes, and over the years, new pandemics arose from the original virus, further complicating our societies. Looting and crime was the new norm. This technology, if made affordable, could end all that and prevent further outbreaks and economic hardships. That's what I couldn't quite place my finger on, was the need to militarize our project so bad. Should be mass producing this and shipping it back to Earth when the trials are complete, but instead this ominous signal really has them spooked. It all started in May of 2020 when a space program launched the first commercial rocket into uh, Earth's orbit and got the ball rolling on space exploration. Just 5 years and we'd made it to Mars and developed deep space technology, allowing for the space stations to spread throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of experiments and millions spent to find a cure to the virus, but now that we have the technology, our original intentions were swept under the rug. Once again, Axiom broke my concentration. Sir, I must say that's very intriguing. I'll see if I can find anything in the central servers tomorrow relating to the project and any ill intentions they may have planned. Thanks, Axiom. I really appreciate that because something just doesn't seem right. All right, guys, who's buying tonight? I asked gingerly. I'll pick up the tab, guys. Davis paid at the end of last tour, and you went through hell today, Raziel. It's the least I can do, said Clayton. I found it hard to unwind as we celebrated. It wasn't because the nanites prevented me from getting drunk, but just everything that's happened so far. This week was going to be a long haul, and I didn't know how we can run the tests without putting myself in harm's way. Live fire tests are necessary to make sure the nanites were able to do their job effectively. I can't be allowed to talk myself out of it. The celebration dwindled down, and we all went to turn in for the night. I laid there restless, not sure whether it was from the excitement or the adrenaline from today's procedure. My nerves were still wrecked, and I was exhausted to boot. Sir, would you like me to induce sleep so you can rest? Axiom asked. I can calm your nerves to allow you to settle if need be. No thanks, Axiom. I'd like the time to process everything that's happened today. I don't believe in taking shortcuts, and sometimes we have to deal with things in order to put them to bed, so to speak. Very well, I understand, she responded. As I laid there, I thought about everything we'd been through together. Clayton and Davis had been part of my life as long as I can remember. We graduated from the same class and grew up in the same neighborhood together. Slowly, we all had settled down and started our families, but always stayed close outside of work, constantly having barbecues and dinners together. We'd also been there for each other with the birth of our children and all of their birthday parties. That's partially why we've worked so well together for so long. We each have our niche in the work that we do, and it's gotten us along the way. We're inseparable, I thought to myself as I drifted off to sleep. Hopeful that the days to come will be successful and we can get back to our families. The next week was grueling and we'd made little headway. Either nothing is on or everyone is on. Damn you, Sanderson, and your stick. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, he's got that stick wedged up his ass. What a douche nozzle. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions up to that point. We've got a handful of pages left, so I'll finish those, and whatever questions you guys have, we can answer those and BS for a little bit and call it a night. I appreciate you guys stopping by and listening. On this, it's kind of fun actually doing like a live read Q&A. I think we've covered a lot of stuff, and Jack, I'm glad that answered your question. Um, I'm glad that did answer your question. And that's what this is all about. Anybody that goes and reads this preview and goes, this stuff doesn't make sense. I want you to help. I want to help, bridge the gap of, why I see, what your viewpoint is versus my viewpoint, and, have discussion about it, because that's what it's all about. We may not agree on things, but, everybody has their own viewpoint and translation of stuff. So that's what this is all about. So we'll finish it out real quick. I don't see any other questions so far. Thanks, Trish. Usually I can do better with voices and stuff like that, but my nose is stopped up today. We went for a nature walk today, and I think I've sneezed like 400 times today because we had like 40-mile-an-hour winds. So like all the pollen is up my nose. So I'm kind of stopped up today. I usually do have a lot of fun with voice work, though. Ask my wife. I'm terrible with it. Will you please take him to the bathroom so he'll quit banging on the door?
The bathroom 4 times since you've been on there.
I realize that.
Go.
Paul, I'm sorry. It's better than listening to him bang on his.
It's really not.
Sorry, one of our kids is being a pain in the ass, so to speak. All right, back to it. Just consider this practice for when you're doing that live book tour. Oh no, man, dude, I'm having a good day today. So if you haven't told, by the way, then I'm acting compared to Saturday's show. Saturday was a fucking horrible day. Like Saturday was like I'm going back to bed and just not doing anything today. But I don't like making obligations to do things and then not following through. I'm not that person. So like I could be on my deathbed and I'll be like, "We're gonna review this book today." Hold on. No, I'm just so. And speaking of which, Mike and Trish and everybody else that's just joined, I got this in the mail today. We are totally reviewing this. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but I can tell you the cover is super thick. It's like cardstock. You can tell looking at it right there. That's the cover. It's pretty thick. So I'm excited about that. I got that in the mail today. Packed like Fort Knox. Like this dude, these guys pack this better than I've seen most comics come from some of these off the wall or online dealers and shops and stuff that you get in. They come in and you're like, where the hell did you learn how to package? Like these dudes, I took pictures of it, so I'll definitely post pictures Saturday when I do reviews on this. So it'll be a lot of fun. And you guys will get to see Harry Sachs in all his glory with his wig-tastic fro. And yes, I did get a haircut. So if you hadn't noticed, I visited Dada's barbershop 2 days ago. So it actually doesn't look too bad if I don't say so myself. Back to it. The next week was grueling, and we'd made little headway. We started off trying low doses of toxins and viruses, but later moved on to full cuts, scrapes, and puncture wounds. Healing had gone smooth and painless with the nanites deadening the nerves to the affected areas. We had plans of doing tests with live ammunition today, but canceled due to the need to continue developing the nanite exoskeletal suit. We received an unnamed element from the SCA that had been brought in from off-planet to build the suit. We decided to call the new element magnesium, based on its properties. It's not only malleable, but has the ability to be superheated and retain its strength. Nothing we have humanly available could pierce the metal in its hardened form, but the superheated magnesium itself. This would serve perfect for our needs, as it is indestructible by almost all known materials. The plan is to develop a rotating system of handheld weaponry that can be superheated to pierce anything necessary, including the suit itself on the off chance it falls into enemy hands. So there you go. There's where the magnesium is introduced into the story. So we'll talk about that for a minute. So for those of you that weren't here for the discussion earlier about magnesium and how I created the new element of magnesium, so it is a super malleable element, and by creating the nanites out of the magnesium technology, they are able to program it to take on any form. So when you go through the art, and we'll show the art again real quick, just because in case anybody else hasn't seen it. Yes. Yes. No, Mike, that comic was the Heroes for a Cause that I had on Sunday for that. This is the cystic fibrosis comic book for the Heroes for a Cause that was on Sunday. All the proceeds from this book goes towards cystic fibrosis and stuff like that. So Heather with Comics and More Chaos got with me, and we ordered a copy to for Blue Balls reviews on Saturday. So I was worried I wouldn't have it for this Saturday because wasn't supposed to be here till Thursday and Friday, and it came today. So postal service in 2020 is absolutely fantastic. So to kind of talk about the magnesium a little bit, you go from piece to piece to piece. So you have this badass sword here, and then you'll go to another piece like this one where it's more like a scimitar, and then you have the axe piece, and then you have this sword, and each piece the sword's different, and it's not really necessarily because of difference in the artist's take on the pieces. It's just because the sword has, or the axe or the weapon itself has no particular form that it has to take. So once the suit is built, which will happen over the next few paragraphs as we read on, so I'm not spoiling anything that's not already going to be told in the reading of the book and or the excerpt. If you go to the beginning of the Kickstarter, there is the Dropbox link that I added in that has all the prologue and chapter 1 and chapter 2 in that. The only reason I'm doing the reading is because it gives me a chance to explain these things. So it's not really a difference in the artists and their vision of how they see it. It's just because the programmability of the weapon that Raziel or Xenonanite Titan or anybody, if this technology ends up getting into anybody else's hands, can imagine. So you think it's a pike, and so it being a malleable material, the nanites are able to craft it into any weapon it needs to be made into. And through the power source, the nanites are able to superheat it. So that way it can cut through pretty much anything, including Raziel himself, if need be. Now, one of the things that you'll notice in all of the pictures too is that the handle isn't superheated. So that's something that'll be read into the sentence later on. There is a failsafe in the actual programming itself that prevents Xenonanite Titan or Raziel or anybody that wears a suit from being harmed from forming a different type of weapon. So when the weapon superheats, any part that the user of the suit is holding on to, it doesn't superheat, protecting them from it. Because, of course, if it can burn through the suit, it would fuck them up. So, we thought of that, and that's not a problem. Yes, it's an awesome cause. It definitely is. So I'm really excited to review that. So if you guys are able to show up for Blue Balls reviews on Saturday, I'd appreciate that. Definitely check out the book. So we'll go back to that. So we received an unnamed element from the SCA that had been brought in from off-planet to build the suit. We decided to call the new element magnesium based on its properties. It's not only malleable, but has the ability to be superheated heated and retain its strength. Nothing we have humanly available can pierce the metal in its hardened form, but the superheated magnesium itself. This would serve perfect for our needs, as it's indestructible by all known materials. The plan is to develop a rotating system of handheld weaponry that can be superheated to pierce anything necessary, including the suit itself on the off chance it falls into enemy hands. We also drew up schematics for a rifle that could change projectiles based on what's needed. It has a detachable backup pistol that can be used when necessary, that also employs various rounds. That is the mastermind, Ed Williams, behind that. So when we sat and we talked about the badass rifle, I'll stop here real quick. When we sat and we talked about the badass rifle for Xenonanite Titan, uh, Ed drew up the rifle and he's like, "What about adding like a pistol at the bottom of it?" And so he added it in. So if you look at the base art of Ed's work, and you see in the background, right at the bottom, there's a detachable pistol if you look close enough. Now, when you get the original art or the art in the book, not the original art, but when you get the art in the book and the art in the art book, you'll see it because it'll be in the full format, of course, not on this tiny screen. But so that was part of, me writing and altering the writing to fit, Ed's. And then, so since Ed added that in, that was right before I talked with Wendy about her piece. And then there's the full size. Wait, hold on. Here we go. So there's the. Oh my gosh, which way is it? One of the whatever. So you got the. There we go. So you got the full size rifle here, and then you've got the pistol in Raziel's hand that's detachable that attaches to the front of the rifle here. So that was one of the cool things, why I talk about, I was inspired by the artist. That's one of the things that I can tell you guys, that was a change in the book due to the artist. Is that was like, how cool would that be to have like a detachable pistol at the front of the gun? I'm like, hell yeah, that sounds badass. Let's do it. So it got added into the story, into the rewrite. So that was a lot of fun working with that too. So we also drew up schematics for rifle that would change projectiles based on what's needed. Hey, what's up, Steph? You are late. What the hell? Fired. It has a detachable backup pistol that can be used when necessary, that also employs various rounds. Forming a carrier for the nanites proved to be a chore. But we went with belt canisters to house the nanites when not in use. So the suit separates. The suit requires so much power, we had to figure out a way to add 2 additional batteries. We ended up using 1 canister to house the suit and 1 for the melee weapon. So real quick, I want to touch on something like this. So um, this was one of the things that I emphasized in the book for Wendy's piece. So if you look at Wendy's piece compared to some of the other pieces, like this one, he's like fully armored, and almost all the other pieces, like this one, he's fully armored. Wendy's piece, she wanted to do something that he had light armor. Like I said, I gave the artist, free roam to do whatever they wanted to with the book, as far as the art goes. And so she was like, I wanted to do something that was different from everybody else's and have like a light armor. So he's not going to be wearing the full suit all the time. And so that's why, there's the canisters that house the nanites, because if he's not using full armor, there has to be somewhere for those nanites to go. So, that's why I emphasized they created the nanite belt. It wasn't just because, oh, well, we need to make up some cool little utility belt. It served a purpose because in instances he needed full armor, he would utilize all the nanites. But in an instance that a soldier didn't need all of the nanites, where do they go? Well, then we got this canister they go into. So that was kind of where we emphasized that with Wendy's piece. So we ended up using 1 canister to house the suit and 1 for the melee weapon. Superheating the nanites drained a tremendous amount of energy from the system, and we were afraid it would compromise the structure of the armor and its ability to stay malleable. With the additional components, we were able to keep full output under a tremendous load. This would also prevent the internal nanites from being compromised if the suit happened to experience a critical failure. We upped my internal nanite count to maximize the effectiveness of enhanced strength and healing. Axiom played a critical role in figuring out the maximum amount to be safe but practical. Thank God the transfer was a lot easier this time, having the ability to heal and block the pain as it took place. I was feeling better every day, both mentally and physically. We're entering the last few weeks available to get the project finished, and it's almost there. Soon I'll be back home spending time with my family, and the means to end of suffering for the Earth. I gotten past my hang up on the militarized nanites and moved on. Who was I to stand in the way of progress? In the end, humanity wins by having the ability to end plagues that had haunted the Earth for so long, and the ability to fight off any incoming attacks. I'm not totally convinced that there's other life out there, but we'll soon find out if the government's timeline was correct. We continued working endlessly on the weapons now that the suit and nanite containers were complete. We designed the containers so that the user could switch between full armor and armorless. Even though the nanites had an infinite power source and durability, we wanted to conserve the strength of the wearer in between fights. Sorry, guys, I was just checking the comments, make sure I wasn't missing anything. Consistent wear Consistent wear could also affect the pilot's mental state, making them unreliable. The internal nanites could keep the fatigue from happening, but we wanted to keep the users as human as possible, preventing them from developing a god complex. One can only imagine the outcome if that were to happen, especially if the suit ended up in the wrong hands. Davis was working on the configuration to ensure that the user would be able to grasp the weapon without doing damage to themselves. Clayton busied away at the console, checking the suit's functionality and integrity. We rigged up the suit on a ballistic shell dummy to test the durability, allowing us to control the suit remotely and out of harm's way if the suit failed. Honestly, I was beginning to think he was enjoying it a little too much, from the sound of it. High velocity armor piercing rounds were cascading down on the suit, and he had this curious grin on his face. That grin you see when someone's up to no good. I let a chuckle slip out as I stared at him from my computer screen, as he continuously blasted away, shaking the entire room. Clayton turned around like he'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar before dinner time. "What's so funny, Mr. Fancy Nanite Pants?" he exclaimed. "Well, look at you over there, Mr. Destructo. Somehow I get the feeling that you're enjoying this a little too much, and we're going to have to take your toys away before you get out of hand," I shot back jokingly. He gave me the look of death, like I'd just shot his dog or something. "Okay, gentlemen, get along. You're both going to time out again," Davis decided to chip in. We burst out laughing, and it felt good for a change. Things had been so serious for a while, and it was good to unwind a little. We quickly got back to it, knowing any minute Sanderson could storm into the room and chew our asses a new one. Davis shut down his console and brought the weapon canister over. "I think we're ready for testing whenever the suit is finished with live fire trials." I tweaked the nanites to detect the user's suit signature, and they should be safe to touch while being wielded. Should be. The user should be able to envision the weapon they want to wield and have that form instantaneously. Once Clayton is finished bombarding the suit, we can give it a go. Clayton turned around and sneered at us. "Well, I guess I could be done if you really insist. I was having fun blasting the shit out of the suit, but I think we can conclude that it's ready." I reluctantly took the weapon carrier from him as Clayton returned the suit to its canister. As I clipped it to my belt, Clayton exited the live fire area and handed me the suit canister. They both stared in anticipation as I clipped the final canister into the belt we'd designed. "Run diagnostics," I communicated to Axiom. "Sir, system integration is complete. All systems are fully linked and ready for use. Power levels nominal. Weapon database uploaded. Armor system is online and linked to my systems. Suit and weapon commands are now synced to your thoughts. We can safely do a field test if you're ready," she replied. "Davis, open the live fire chamber and let's try this out. Make sure you latch the door behind me in case something goes wrong with the suit. We don't need a homicidal machine running rampant through the station if it overtakes me," I commanded. They stared nervously in silence as I walked gingerly into the test range. Immediately, the drone attacks began catching me off guard. A plasma shot flew towards me from a tank on the far side of the room. So you can guess whose picture's going in this chapter. There's a tank, plasma shots, the suit, explosions. So, sensing the incoming threat, in a flash, the suit fully enveloped my body as the round hit me square in the face. The blast was completely absorbed into the suit, and I was barely fazed by the impact. I could hardly believe it as the smoke cleared. Something that seemed so impossible was now a reality. As I continued fighting through the drones, tanks, and turret fire, I felt invincible. The rifle and pistol worked flawlessly, but it was time to try out the hand-to-hand weapons. I thought about a broadsword, and immediately the nanites formed in my hands. I could feel the energy resonating from it as I sliced through the drones like warm butter with little effort. I was really digging the test when I heard cries over the communicator built into the suit. Davis and Clayton frantically screamed over the intercom, but it was garbled. You, get out. Power grid critical. Attack on station. Meltdown. Axiom scanned the area and confirmed what I'd gotten out of the message. We were under attack and high energy weapons had damaged the station critically. The experimental fission reactor had become highly unstable based on her readings and was beginning to break down. I could feel the force of the fission reaction happening deep in my suit, almost as if it had harmonized with the nanogenerators within the suit. Before I could do anything, a bright flash appeared from behind the viewing window, and I saw my partner's bodies burn away as the blast ripped through the walls and enveloped me. I could feel the heat as the objects in the room hammered me from all directions. I couldn't believe what I'd just witnessed. Emotions overwhelmed me at the loss of my friends and the entire station full of people. People with families back on Earth and the hope we had to bring back to them, all gone in a flash before my eyes. As the light died down and the rubble began to appear around me, I noticed a faint outline through the tears in my eyes of what seemed to be the silhouette of a ship. As it floated towards me, I began to feel the pull at my heels. Axiom, what is going on? I stammered. Sir, it seems as though a gravitational void is forming as the result of the fission blast. It would appear that a black hole has formed. I can confirm that the silhouette is indeed a ship, but they're now retreating in the wake of the Terran space. As the pull grew stronger, the rubble around me started to disappear along with the hopes that I'd make it out alive. Axiom, send a deep space signal to my family and make it quick. Allison, Robert, and Natalie, I love you all more than words can say, more than just to the moon and back. I'm sorry, but something has gone wrong and I don't know if I'll ever see you again. Please take care of yourselves, and if I can find a way back to you, I will. I promise with every fiber of my body. Until we meet again, one way or another, I'll miss you. Silence fell over me as Axiom transmitted the message. Tears continued to stream down my face as I was sucked into the anomaly. The pressure started to grow and I could feel the crushing force through the suit. It grew ever so dark as it swallowed me. I faded away. This was the end and there was no going back. What have I done? So yeah, that's where it ends off at. So yeah, I know I'm a douchebag. I hear you over there. So sorry, Jack, if I missed you. Good night, buddy. So yeah, that's where the book leaves off at. So if anybody has any other questions about that, it's a really emotional part of the book. Um, I mean, it is to me, just because a lot of writing that part of the chapter where he watches everything he knows get ripped away from him is a lot of how I felt back in January. Whenever I got diagnosed with cancer, it's like I felt like my life was ripped away from me. It's like, yeah, we didn't know if that's what it was, but in September I just buried my grandpa. And so, and it was because of spinal cancer. And so then, here in January, I find out I have this mass in my back, and they were like, "Oh, we just want to wait and see if it gets bigger, if it gets smaller. We don't want to biopsy it. It's too close to your spine. It's too close to your lung." And then COVID happened, and they shut down, and so they're just like, "Oh, whatever. We have to wait. Now we have to wait 5, 6 months to figure out, if it's cancer or not." So, a lot of this was, and sorry, I got kind of emotional there at the end. It's the embodiment of the hurt and of not knowing if everything's going to be all right. And and it's kind of like in the last message where he says, until we meet again one way or another, I'll miss you. It was kind of like, it was hard to read because it was kind of like me, if I was saying my last goodbye. And so there's a lot of emotion in that chapter. Have a good one, Christina. Yeah, that was where I left you guys at. Yeah, Tiffany was like, "You're such a douchebag" in the background. That's what she was talking about. Have a great night, Christina. So yeah, I mean that was a lot of what went into the rewrite. Is all the stuff that happens. The way, I don't know. I felt like the way that I went at it had more emotion, it was more relatable because especially with the stuff that's been going on in my life since this year, and with everything that's happened since 5 years ago with Roderick and everything that we've been through. And I don't know. I don't want to say the character is 100% me because it's not, but a lot of the flaws and a lot of the way that Raziel acts is kind of like an embodiment of the way that I act or the way that I feel. Like I take full, like him taking full uh, responsibility for testing the nanites. You know, he does that because he doesn't want anybody else getting hurt by his own actions and just stuff like that. So, anybody have any questions about the book? Anything they want to talk about? There we go. Bring the comments back up on here. Did I lose everybody? Is everybody still here? There's like no comments. Is anybody even here? Lay Gumpies. Lewis. Where are we at? Yeah, where are you guys at? I know where you are, Wendy. Oh, where are we at pledge-wise? So pledge-wise, here, hold on, I'll share it on here. Let's see, share screen. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I am too. I thought it would be fun. I don't know. I bounce back and forth between it, Mike. I really didn't think people would care too much if I would read it, and so I was like, whatever. There'd be people out there that would love to hear it be read, and listen to me talk about it because they don't put the director's cuts in movies for nothing because some people actually like to watch this stuff and see where the ideas came from. So it ended up being a lot of fun because I was able to to explain some of the things and answer questions as far as stuff like what Jack asked, or why would Raziel test the nanites on himself? That doesn't really make sense, and I was able to answer that. So we're at we'll refresh this. This has been on here for like 2 days, or a day. I mean, maybe 4 hours later. Come on, you can close out of here. Whatever, don't close out of there. I don't care. There you go. Bye. All right, so we're at 36 backers, 2191, 15 days to go. For those of you that don't know, I did add in the Dropbox link right there. Excuse me. I have the Dropbox link in there. So any of you guys that, if you missed out part of the story reading, or you want to read part of the story, or you want to share it with somebody and allow them to be able to read part of the story, the intro to the book, and see if it's something that they're interested in, it's right there. That's all of it. That's the prologue, chapter 1 and chapter 2. And then again, like before, that's not it. I don't think I've added it in here. I think it's in the updates. Let me go to the updates. So for those of you, if you haven't seen the updates, we do have this Explode member card. We got a mock-up actually printed of it. All right, that's where I talk about there being an explode member card. Hold on. That's the wrong update. It's the update above that. Yep, here it is. So we'll show off that explode member card for those of you that haven't seen it. There it is right there. I drew up Steph Pool with his awesome bazooka with the little shark face on it. That's the actual art. Unfortunately, the only thing we had to print it on was a sparkle glitter metal, which I can't say that I actually don't like it because I kind of think it looks pretty cool. So I don't know, depending on what other people think. I think the glitter looks pretty badass. If you guys don't like it, I'm sure we can work something out and get it on regular metal. But I'm actually really loving it. Stupid gnat, get out of here. And so I think it looks awesome. So if you guys want to get in on the Explode member card, it's just like Wendy Steenshainer's gold member card. You bring somebody into the campaign, they back it, you both fund at the end, you get the metal trading card with my awesome Steph Pool original art there. The metal card will be good for a discount on my website at xenonanitetitan.com. I know there's not much on there right now, but as we progress on after this, book 2 is already being written, and there's gonna be some special stuff go up on the store. There may be points where I offer original art to try to get new original art for book 2. There'll be chances to get on all kinds of stuff, down the road. This will grant you a lifetime 10% off at my store or at the cons. You see me at C2E2 and I got a table set up and you walk up and you're like, hey, I want to buy a print of this. You flash your gold member card or, I'll know who got the gold member cards. So you don't have to have it on you. But if you do have it on you, you can flash it and show it off. And you get 10% off of the cons. So it's as simple as that. You bring somebody else in, they back it, you both fund at the end. You get this sweet ass metal card with original art on it. And I also am in talks of getting another backer goal. So there may be something at either 75 or at 100 backers. We will unlock a free print for everyone. I'm working on seeing if we can get the other art made up for it, and hopefully it'll be finished before too long. And if we're able to make that happen, what we'll end up doing is whether we make it 75 backer goal or we make it the 100 backer goal. Um, the first 75 backers, if it's a 75 backer goal, or the first 100 backers will have a chance at the original art. Um, Everyone after that will still get a print, but only the first 100 physical backers will have a chance at the original art. So it'll be kind of like an incentive to the people that got on early onto the project. If anybody's commenting and I'm not answering you, it's because I'm on this page. I will get to you in a second. I hope I am not missing anything. Oh, you like the glitter too? It's so shiny. I'll post the video. I have a counterfeit gold member card ready to use. Oh, thank you for adding that link in there, Mike. I really appreciate it. We'll listen to it again because you missed the beginning. Happy to get. So yeah. And anyway, so the other backer incentive. So like I said, if we end up making it like if we hit 75 backers and everybody gets a print, then what we'll do is the first 75 backers will have a chance at the OA, the original art. So if you're backer number 90, you'll still get the free print, but you won't have a chance at the free art. So this will kind of give incentive towards all of the people that backed this from the beginning. Anybody that got in on it earlier, you guys are going to be the first ones that get a crack at this. You'll be the only ones to get a crack at the original art, and somebody will randomly get the original art inserted into their book. So when you pull out your stuff and you get your nice, super sweet, badass Xenonanite Titan book in all its glory, with all the badass art from the badass artists on the inside, and you slide out that print in there, one of you lucky, 75 or 100, depending on what we end up going with. I don't know where we'll be at the point when I unveil it. Uh, we'll pull it out and be like, holy shit, I got the original of this. So I think that'll be pretty cool. So I'm still working on some stuff. I'm going to try to bring up mock-ups of the bookmark, mock-ups of the trading card, and stuff like that. There's the gold member art again. I love how it turned out. I know it's kind of corny. I ended up putting the 2 grenades on his hips here. Um, I think it turned out really good though. I had a good laugh at it, and when it printed on there, I was like, "That's pretty freaking awesome." That's great. So definitely appreciating all the love so far. You guys are awesome. I love all the support you guys are showing. I'm super excited about this. I cannot wait, to this book's printed and in your guys' hands and you see the art in person and you're like, wow, this is badass. And I'm excited about book 2. I mean, that's going to be the most fun. Funding book 1, everything after printing and taxes and Kickstarter fees and shipping and everything after all that's over with is going right back into book 2 and funding the art for it. So we can keep this train rolling. Um, I'm not planning on keeping anything. I mean, I'm gonna make book 2 just that more awesome. We'll probably keep Wendy and Ed and maybe a handful of other artists, but I'm looking to do new artists in every book. So I want to make sure I need OA too. Luis Torres member Giggity, and so I basically my plan is to utilize as many artists as I can through book 1, 2, and 3, just for the simple fact of helping getting more names out in more people's hands. With the art book, you're gonna get a chance to get somebody that doesn't know anybody that is an artist in my book. They're gonna get, hey, here's Wendy Steen Chandler. She does Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassin as well as the Sireness. And here's CB Zane. He does Into the Suck and Scorpiana, and he has the Mighty Might. Here's Jason So. He does Necroman. Here's so and so. Here's even at Revis Fournier. She's an up and coming artist, and her first comic book was printed this year, and this is the first book she's going to be printed in. So she's coming up on all levels, and so it give everybody background basically who the artists are, and that way I can help promote you guys out to as many people out there as possible, just so they can show off your awesome talents and get more eyes on you, because I think you guys deserve more recognition than what you get. You guys do an awesome job. You guys are phenomenal. You're a great team, and you guys really know how to party. So I'm excited. This has been a lot of fun. What's going on, Smithers? How you doing, buddy? Late to the party as usual. Holy crap, Steph Wilson, you're still in here. I figured you would have went to bed by now. You must be drawing all those extra circle templates. Sorry I missed Chuck's show. I hope it was fun. So if anybody else has any questions, now's your time to ask. Smithers is a skateboarder. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask. I definitely am willing to talk about anything other than what happens after the last part of the book that I read. Like I said, we got the Explode member card. Bring a friend, have them back it. Message me, say, hey, so and so back the project. When you fund at the end, you get that awesome card, 10% off my website for life. 10% off of the cons for life. And everybody loves explosions. Everybody loves explosions. And then since some of you guys are rolling in here now, I'll go ahead and pop it up there. So for the stretch goals, we've got the metal trading card. This will be April Grady Reyna's piece. This will be for the metal trading card. It's unlocked. It's the first stretch goal. I think it's 6,500. And then I just closed out of the Kickstarter, so I can't see it. And then the bookmark, I'll show you guys that real quick too, because I don't think most of you were in here when that was. So here's the artwork for the bookmark. Nobody's ever seen this art before. I've never really flashed this one up. So this is what the bookmark art's going to be. This was done by Pete Vasquez. Pete 1117, I think is what his tag name is. So that's what the artwork will be on the metal bookmark. And like I said, this will be the artwork that it will be on I lost it again. This is the artwork that'll be on the metal trading card. Man, we ought to make this a reward level. That would be so much fun. Smither. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thanks for participating in the chat. Thanks for listening to the live reading. Wendy, like I said before, okay, I chalk it up to pain and I can't spell tonight. And you hush. Go to work on my Valentine's Day cards now. Everybody likes art reveals. That's right. Hey, Smithers, thanks for joining, buddy. So that concludes the show. If anybody else doesn't have any questions, if you think of something later on, feel free to message me. I'll answer anything other than after chapter 2. Unless you've already read it, then I'll answer any questions. Thank you. They all turned out awesome. And yes, that picture of Ruben and stuff is just absolutely classic. You know, I need to upload the new Cape Cod Spiraler album cover. I mean, we still got the old Jersey Circular Leaving for the Colorist EP. So I need to upload that new one to there. And I need to make more fun stuff like this. You know, Xenonanite Titan, Space Shapes, Mac and Cheese. I started making something today, and then we had to run over to Washington and do all that kind of fun noise. And then, you know, the Xenonanite Titan VHS. That was a lot of fun, too, getting an old VHS tape case and taking a picture and taking a picture of the cassette and then photoshopping all the stuff over it. That was a blast. And if you look closely, right, well, I can't show you. So you see the Rust Explode Studios logo on the bottom left, and on the bottom right, it's got the Blue Ball reviews. It's got this on the other side. So, oh, and Smithers, I don't think you were here earlier when I was talking about it too. No, you don't. Thanks, Trish. I appreciate that. So, now to be released on state of the art VHS. Yeah, I had a blast with that, and I really thought hard about Dustin Overschmidt, one of the guys that has been in the shows off and on lately. That's been watching. He's one of my longtime friends. We've been friends for 14 years, and he moved away a few years ago, and we've kind of lost touch. You know, especially with Roderick having his open heart surgeries. You know, it's been hard. You know, like this quarantine that you guys are all going through right now is like our norm for the last 5 years. So like it's like, oh, Roderick's got to have a surgery. You guys are on quarantine for 2 weeks before the surgery and 4 weeks after the surgery. And so the 1 year we didn't have Thanksgiving or Christmas because he had a cardiac cath the week or the day. No, it was the Friday before Halloween because Halloween fell on a Monday. So he had a cardiac cath on Friday, and then he had open heart surgery the Monday after Thanksgiving. And so we had to quarantine 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and then all the way up till past Christmas for quarantine. So we're like, oh, we don't have to do Thanksgiving this year. Okay. You know, it wasn't really a big surprise to us because it's, you know, our norm. Anytime Roderick or there's like flu going around and stuff like that, we have to quarantine. But speaking of which, I'm really excited about this. This showed up today. It wasn't supposed to be here till Thursday or Friday. Heather pitched in for me to order a copy of this to review on Blue Balls Reviews. This will be reviewed this Saturday. I'm thinking next week we'll probably do Wendy Steenshainer's Naughty Fairies. And then I think we'll do a Scorpiana and Into the Suck review. I want to stick to some of the local guys that we do and try to show them off to some of the people that I know that don't normally run in our circles. They run in other circles. And as some of this other stuff rolls in, like what did I miss here? Let's see. You have a lot of fun with Photoshop. I do. I have way too much fun. But anyway, yeah. So I got way off subject with that. So Dustin had the idea for doing a floppy disk, and I'm like, that's hilarious. Can you turn the stuff picks and stretch goals? Your numbers will rock it up. Yeah, I like that. Steph doesn't like that idea, so we need to do it. boob cell stuff. It has to be done between and his face swaps. Your words say no. Xenonanite Hooters waitresses. What chapter is that in? Whatever chapter you want to dream it up in, and stuff. So yeah, I'm super excited. We're gonna review this. Like I said, this weekend came today. Packaged like Fort Knox. It was great to see a comic book packaged that way. I'm really excited about this. It's got all the stuff on there to help people uh, that have cystic fibrosis. The kids reading this, like they said on the video, it's got ads in it for places that they could go for getting help or getting things that they need. Excuse me, which is really cool. And so, like I said, next week we'll probably do like Naughty Fairies, and then I think we'll do Into the Suck and Scorpiana. Do like a dual review, since they're both CB Zane's books, and uh, we'll go from there. If anybody has any books that they can recommend, or anybody has a book that they want me to do a review on, let me know. I'm gonna try to start rock and rolling on just mainly indies, nothing like mainstream, no Marvel or DC books, because who cares about those, right? Stuff. So yeah, I definitely want to rock some of you guys out there. You guys got some amazing books and some amazing talent, and we can get the word out there by showing off the artwork. I'm really excited about reading this Pathways book. Like I said, Sunday when I did the show with them about doing that, it hits home with me. Sending out stuff like this. Here you got a, a kid, that has had pediatric brain cancer 4 times, and these guys approached him and said, "Hey, do you want to make a character? What do you want your character's superpowers to be?" And for them to be, do that and make the book and line up with these charities that help uh, kids that have pediatric brain cancer and that do research for it. I think it's an amazing thing, and anytime I hear something like that, and you guys know me, I'm a sucker for it, with having Roderick, it really hits home, and that's why, I'm really excited about this. I'm more excited about funding and getting to release this out there, and for to be able to hand that check to Mark and say, hey, all these people uh, bought this shirt to support you guys, and this is for the kids. I think that will make his day. He'd probably pass out, but it's definitely worth it. All these organizations that help kids, um, it's a great cause. I mean, you never know what some of these kids go through until you experience it firsthand. I'd have to say our first surgery with Roderick was a real eye opener. When he went into he was born, he stayed at Mercy for like 11 hours. They couldn't stabilize him, so I rode with him in the ambulance to Cardinal Glennon. They took him straight to the NICU, and seeing all those other kids and their kids that were born at 19, 20 weeks, and they're under the blue light, and all the stuff that these kids go through. And then when we moved up to the PICU, when Roderick was exactly a week old and they did his first open heart surgery, we got to see kids of all ages, 7, 8, 9. We had a kid next door to us that was 5 years old, I think is how old he was at the time. And he had just had a heart transplant. And the kid's body was so swollen he couldn't even move. Like every inch of his body was 3 times the size. Like his arm should have been this size. His arms were like this big around, and the skin was real shiny because it was all stretched out. And the poor kid was like miserable. And it's like, you see kids suffering like that in the hospital, and you see a charity like CB4K. They send books to the hospitals for kids that are going through this stuff, kids that have cancer, kids that may never get to go home again, and just to take 10 or 15 minutes and of their mind off of the stuff that's going on in their life, and they're engrossed in this book, and they're sitting there reading it going, oh man, here I have cystic fibrosis, here's a kid that's got cystic fibrosis, and oh, he's got these superpowers, and oh yeah, I fight this every day. And they can, it's an escapism for them. And it's escapism for us as parents, when our kids sitting there flipping through a comic book for 15 or 20 minutes, and we can be there for each other. That's a huge deal. After you sit for 13 hours in a telephone booth waiting for that phone call that your son made it, and then you go in there and you're trying to comfort them, and you're just exhausted. And then somebody walks in and says, "Oh, here's Hot Wheel from Walmart that costs $1," and your son's like, "Oh man, this is awesome!" And he's sitting there driving the car around on the bed, totally forgets about the immense amount of pain that he's in. We can sit there and go, and we can decompress for the day. It's an amazing thing. So I definitely support them all the way, and I appreciate Stefan Papadopoulos doing the art and Carrie doing this art for me. It means a lot. I love it, and there's the symbolism in it. Me as Xenonanite Titan reading a book to Roderick while Sissy's at the end of the bed with the get well balloon. It's a great piece. I really love it. And thanks to Wendy for the recommendations for the adding Sissy in there. We couldn't do it without Sissy. When I get a book, I will hope for a exploding blue ball review. Clause for the holiday season. Want to buy that tea? Yep, I know you do, Steph. So everybody needs to bring your friends in, fund this project, because Steph wants a freaking t-shirt. All right? And you guys can't let Steph down. Steph will be totally disappointed if he doesn't get to buy a t-shirt. So, well, got to get Steph that t-shirt. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for being here. Holy crap, I can't believe I've been live for almost 3 hours. That's insane. Everybody have a great night. Have a great week. I will see you guys on Saturday for Blue Balls Reviews with Pathway versus the Gasp. Everyone, have a great night. Stay safe. Love you guys. Rust Explode Studios, projects that'll blow your mind. Have a great night.